Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Got a good show ahead, folks, today. Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals will be on the way in just a bit. But first, want to talk to you about an interesting science in true crime these days, and that is criminal profiling. Our guest today has a really good book out there that I had the privilege of being able to read and be able to absorb. The book is called The Monsters We Make, Murder, Obsession, and the Rise of Criminal Profiling. My guest is author Rachel Corbett. And I tell you, folks, there's something at the end of this book that we're going to talk about today, which makes you think of the movie Minority Report. And I want to jump into that with Rachel today. I've got chills thinking about it because it has to do with an area of the country that I'm familiar with and I have relatives in, and that's Pasco County, Florida. So we're going to get to that in the second part of the program today. Because, again, when you think of the movie Minority Report, you think of loss of freedoms. And loss of freedoms is something I think we've already started to talk about in this country, but this has been going on for at least a decade or two. And we're not talking anything current administration. We're not talking politics here, folks. We're talking about actual police crackdown on people before they've even committed crimes. And just through profiling, saying you could potentially be a criminal even though you haven't committed a crime. It's just, again, a matter of profiling. So let's tell you a little bit about our guest, and then we'll jump into today's program. Rachel Corbett is the author of You Must Change Your Life, which won the Marfield Prize, the National Award for Arts Writing. A features writer at New York Magazine, her writing has also appeared in the New Yorker, New York Times Magazine, and Atlantic. She lives in Brooklyn, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in for the first time to True Crime Tuesday, Rachel Corbett. Hi, Rachel.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Love this book. Love this book. Because it really does point out that criminal profiling is not the exact science that we get on television, is it?
No, not at all. And I came into this book being very interested in that, in criminal profiling, the kind you see on TV. I watched those shows. And I didn't know what I was really researching when I started looking into it, but I quickly found that it's really not what it's cracked up to be. It's very different. And there's a lot of reasons why criminal profiling is so popular, why we have shows like Criminal Minds and Mindhunter, and they're so explosively popular. But it's not because it's a good science.
Tell me why it's not a good science. What are the beginnings of it? Tell me a little bit about the beginnings of it, and why do we think it's such an exact science? I really trace it back. It's hard to pinpoint the moment it started, but I think one era we can look at is in the era of phrenology when, for example, Cesare Lombroso was one of the godfather of criminology, he's called. And he believed that there were certain facial features or bumps in the skull that could predict who was going to be a criminal. Often he was in Italy, and often the people he decided were criminals were people who had features that were more Asian or African or kind of outsider features. And he would even go to court and testify and say, this man, his jawline, it's clear he's going to be a murderer. So like give him the harshest penalty, that kind of thing. So it was really out of control. And then, it evolves over time. The way we think about criminal profiling now is the FBI's behavioral science unit. The guys in the basement who are, ramshackle at Quantico, who are, just sort of, they almost have a supernatural power, ability to get into the minds of murderers. And the problem with that is that there is a lot of research on violence, but that's not what the police were using or the FBI was using. They were kind of conducting their own research based on their own experiences, based on interviews that they conducted. And they came up with some theories about criminality that just haven't borne out to be accurate. There's one study that found that only about 2.7% of criminal profiles, at least those done in London, led to the identification of a perpetrator. So, but 80% of the police officers thought they were helpful at the same time. So there's this big mismatch between our desire to believe that we can get inside the minds of murderers and the reality of it. And I also go back to the era of Jack the Ripper, when one of the first sort of modern criminal profiles was thought to be written. And that was, Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of Sherlock Holmes, in fact, was enlisted by police to sort of try to help catch Jack the Ripper. And I love that story because it really shows the how fiction and true crime are really wedded together, really from the beginning of this practice.
Let's talk about Conan Doyle for a second, because the idea being that Conan Doyle was the ultimate in brilliant minds, and so they bring him in to kind of say, okay, if Sherlock Holmes had to break this down and try to figure out who this killer really is, how would he do it, or how would he go about it? And his true passion was true crime. He didn't want to write Sherlock Holmes anymore, right? He kind of threw Holmes over a cliff, and that was it. That was going to be it. And then the public kind of goes, no, bring him back. He brings him back reluctantly. But I think he really did want to sink his teeth into the Ripper. And then does he get it right?
No, he doesn't get it right, but nobody really got it right. So he tries to. He believed that Jack was maybe a more worldly man than the police thought. He analyzed the letter and thought there were sort of Americanisms in the language, and that therefore he was either American or he'd traveled extensively. There were theories that it was either a low-class Jewish person from Whitechapel, or that it was a very high-class doctor, for example, or physician, or, kind of evil scientist or something. It was one of the two, and he leaned more towards the second idea. And then there was also a police surgeon who wrote a profile of Jack the Ripper that was pretty groundbreaking in that he normally looked at autopsies to make conclusions about crimes and criminals, but this time he decided to look at personality factors. He thought about what Jack might wear to be, no one had seen anyone with blood on them, so was he wearing all black? Or, he thought about the manner in which he killed in the middle of the street in public, so he must be a very cool, calm, collected person who was able to sort of function in society to some degree. So all of this was kind of new in this period, a new way of thinking about how to look at criminals or what they might be capable of.
So based on what we surmise now, because we can't say we definitely know who the Ripper is, but we got a pretty good idea based on the little bit of DNA we have, right? And even that, even with touch DNA and the little bit we have to this day and age, we think we know who the suspect is. I want to ask you what you personally think and what you buy into as to who the Ripper is.
This is like a very hotly contested issue, and I've met with Ripperologists, as they're called, Jack the Ripper really fanatics, and they are very passionate about their beliefs. And I am not an expert in this in the way that they are, but I tend to kind of go with this theory that it was this man, Aaron Koźmiński. He was a Polish immigrant who lived in the area in Whitechapel. He was known to be a big misogynist. He hated women. He attacked his sister once. And supposedly there was an eyewitness who saw him and identified him later. And Scotland Yard, some of the detectives there had written that this was the suspect and that they had captured him and put him in an asylum and he died there. And so therefore Jack the Ripper case had been solved. But for some reason, they never released this information to the public. So that's a little bizarre. And then, so then there was a shawl from one of the victims, Catherine Eddowes, that was found. And recently, in recent years, they found DNA that could have been traced back to Koźmiński.
Yes.
There are others who said it wasn't enough DNA; it was too damaged of a sample to draw any real conclusions. So, I can't say for certain, but I kind of lean in that direction personally.
I do as well. We've had descendants of H.H. Holmes on this program. We've had different Ripperologists, if you will. We've had different criminologists on this program that have talked about it, that have different theories. Most of them come back to Koźmiński.
Okay.
And I think that's the popular
popular theory, popular conclusion, right? And to say that maybe justice was done with him going into the asylum, I think we'd like to tie that into that popular bow and say, okay, that part of history was filed away, and maybe we can sleep better at night. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think so. It's really a mystery why they wouldn't have given the enormous press around this and the public fascination. It's bizarre to me that they wouldn't have said that. That gives me some pause, but I don't know if that's because they weren't certain about the suspect or just that the means by which they got him, maybe some mistakes were made, or I don't know, and they didn't want to reveal their whole process. But yeah,
is it better marketable if the mystery remains, or is it not a romantic story that this guy was crazy, they got him a different way, it was a mistake, we threw him in an asylum, whoops, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's true. Maybe there was something embarrassing to them. That's kind of what I thought too. And certainly, you know, it's been a moneymaker, the Jack the Ripper walking tours, all the penny presses that were running story after story about the mystery. I mean, there was a lot to be said for having that unsolved. You know, you can keep the story going.
Yeah.
But for police, I think they were pretty embarrassed about not catching him. But maybe something even worse happened after.
Yeah.
You know, in the investigation.
Very much so. Very much so. You talk about this inexact science of criminal profiling, and one of the things that you bring up, which is very interesting, and you bring up the case of Ted Bundy and how a lot of times criminal profilers don't get it wrong, and you use I don't remember the clinical name for it, but you use split personality, and the fact that even criminal profilers didn't get the fact that Ted Bundy did have a split personality. Can you talk a little bit about Ted Bundy's split personality and the things that Bundy was hiding?
Yeah. So in the Bundy story, I follow this Yale child psychiatrist, Dorothy Lewis, she's really one of the pioneers of the study of violence in adults as well. And this is sort of her theory. She's someone who has interviewed probably more serial killers than anybody. I mean, she evaluates them while they're in prison, and then testifies in court about their psychological state. She spent a lot of time with Ted Bundy in particular. This was kind of the white whale of her career. Everyone else, she said, she could sort of pin down as having three traits. The other murderers she saw, there was obscene, horrible child abuse. There was something wrong in the brain, injury or something that impaired neurological processes. And there was a psychiatric disorder like paranoia, schizophrenia, something. But Bundy didn't fit that criteria. He always claimed that his family was perfect, there's no abuse, it's a good Christian home. And she didn't really believe that. He hid a lot. And some of those, his grandfather was passing as his father. His grandfather was actually pretty terribly abusive. So he gets executed, but she keeps investigating this case. And she still is to this day, as far as I know. And she believes now, many psychiatrists don't believe multiple personality disorder, or what we now call dissociative identity disorder, is real. And back then, there was skepticism. She very much believes it's real. And she's seen it in other clients. And so with Bundy, she says that there were these moments she would observe with him where he would sort of switch. He would speak about himself in the third person. He would sometimes refer to an entity, that it was the entity that killed, not him. And there were times when she said his whole being changed. He started to smell different. He would speak to her in a menacing way where he never had before. She recounts this incident where she's sitting in the cell with him, and they become sort of friendly at this point. They know each other well, and he suddenly turns, his eyes kind of go black, and he says something really ominous to her. He says, the man before you never committed any murders, or something like that. And he'd already admitted it to her, so this was bizarre. And then she looks up in the window to where the guards are standing, and she realizes they're not there. And she's
suddenly like realizes she's alone in this room with Ted Bundy, and she's backed up against the wall and he's by the door, and it's the first time she ever feels afraid of him because she feels it's not him, it's somebody else. I don't know, I don't think we can say for sure whether this was real or not. Something she concluded long after he died, but it's definitely something she believes strongly today.
That odd smell you're talking about and the change in personality, there are some people that believe that might have been a demonic possession that Bundy had. Where do you fall on that when someone says that?
I'm not demonic possession. Is not really my area of expertise. Sure. I don't tend to. I suspect there's probably a scientific reason for it. She believed it was fear. Mm-hmm. When someone. I know that it happened also in court. Some people reported that he smell changed. She believes it's fear, and something like when he realizes he could sort of delude himself that he wasn't going to die or come up with these excuses. And then sometimes she felt he would realize it, the consequences were coming, and that's when the change would happen. But I don't know. I haven't looked that much into that. It's really fascinating to think about.
It is. I've heard that side of it, and we've explored that side of it on the paranormal side of the show. That maybe, and mind you, it's a loosely tethered. Most of it is psychosis, and a lot of it is psychosis, if not all of it is psychosis, right? When it comes to Ted Bundy, when you break it all down, but that little sliver of what if. Because if a deranged mind could potentially let in something that's supernatural or paranormal. But what if, I've talked to someone who's not only a clinician, but also a psychic, and says you'd be surprised, you'd be amazed how many people do have mental illness, but have an attachment on them. And
an attachment. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like something that's a supernatural being or something,
like
or
some sort of lower level spirit attached to them that's kind of driving the car. So what will happen is, sure, they flipped into psychosis, but then at that same time, they have a lower level spirit or entity that's driving them, that takes them over and kicks them into another gear. Not only they're not in their right mind, but they kind of check out for a while. This entity takes them over and does whatever bidding they want to do.
And how do they know that? Or I guess it's this person who's
psychic.
Who's saying this.
Yeah, sees the attachment on them. They almost see it sitting at the base of their skull or on their spine. They can see it almost like you and I are sitting here seeing each other right now on Zoom. So,
wow. Yeah. Well, I don't know anything about that world, but it's interesting.
It is interesting. It's interesting I don't see anything like that. I'm not that psychic, to be honest with you, but it's fascinating to think about. It's one of those, well, maybe, right? Maybe not.
And it does, we do have this history of, I think of serial killers as really the sort of modern monsters. We've, in history, we've always had monsters. They were maybe ghosts and ghouls and Frankenstein, these different characters throughout history. And I do think that the way the public imagination has evolved, there are different monsters for different eras. They reflect the fears of a particular time. And the serial killer era is kind of the first time we've had this really human monster kind of mix. It's sort of a new phenomenon. If you look in the long scope of history. And that's interesting too,
Let's talk about that for a moment, because as you bring up in the book, really the serial killer phenomenon really, as you put it, was manufactured. It was really something that was, it was kind of hyperbole. Explain to me what you mean by that.
Yeah. There in the 70s, the FBI was having a bit of a problem. They were left in disgrace after J. Edgar Hoover died, and they realized all about the wiretapping scandals and this and that. And so they needed to rehabilitate their image. And one way they did this, and profilers there have admitted to this, since, is they sort of drummed up a problem. They said there was Ted Bundy, and he was traveling state to state, so he came onto the radar of the FBI because he was crossing state lines, and he was terrifying people because it was this boy next door, handsome law student. How could he be doing this? And people were just inherently terrified. So they kind of seized on that idea, and they started to say there's serial killers everywhere. And sure enough, then there was John Wayne Gacy, and there was the Atlanta child murders, but they exaggerated it massively. They said that there were about 4,000 to 5,000 deaths per year by serial killer, when in reality the number was 400 to 500, more likely. But no one ever corrected this. The public was terrified, and they started doing press conferences where they said, we have the solution to the thing that terrifies you the most. And it's these mind hunters, these guys in the basement. And they brought them out and they let them speak to the public. And they said, here's the problem we've created, and here's the only solution is us. And the public agreed to, they pressured their congressmen to give them more funding. And the FBI really succeeded in expanding its jurisdiction, getting more funding, and rehabbing its image all at the same time. Fears are often manipulated in politics to do things like that.
Right, right. And this overreach, we'll call it what it is, an overreach, continues, and it continues in law enforcement. And we'll explain in the second half of the program how it goes from the federal level to the state level. And we'll give that example with Florida in the second part of the program. I want to talk real quick. Speaking of that overreach, I want to go back to World War II. Real quick, and talk a little bit about the beginning of the CIA, which is the OSS, and Henry Murray. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Henry Murray for a second, because he's an interesting, talking about psychology and being a bit of a dime store psychologist myself. Henry Murray is an interesting look in psychology. Without diving too much into him, boy, he had some interesting theories, didn't he?
Yeah, he's fascinating. I could write a whole book about him, but he was the head of the Harvard Psychology Clinic. In fact, he had no training in psychology whatsoever, but he was a wealthy, well-spoken, charming guy, and he talked his way into running the clinic. And he was interested in psychoanalysis, which was just coming to America at the time. And he got very invested in the war, wanted America to fight and to get involved himself. So he contacted the OSS, and they agreed to bring him on as a profiler. Profiling, happens in different spheres, not just at the FBI, but the CIA uses it to profile foreign leaders. We do it today with Putin and different people. Mm-hmm. So this was the first time, though, they had done it. And they brought in Henry Murray and some other psychologists to profile Hitler. And they wanted, to predict, to think about what his psychology might tell us about what he would do in the future. And then the agency would act accordingly, plan its moves. So Henry Murray read all of Hitler's writings. He read Mein Kampf. He watched his speeches, and he made some odd theories about Hitler's mind. We got very invested in his sexuality and spent many pages on that. Maybe not so useful for the CIA, but he did predict accurately that Hitler would commit suicide before he would ever surrender, which of course happened. And but a lot of it also was nonsense. It was fun to read in a way, but it was speaking of fact in fiction. This was a work of the imagination more than anything else.
He's very much a fun read. I think we can keep a lot of it for the book so that people can go read about him in the book. I mean, everything from, leaving his wife to having a mistress to having a muse, if you want to put it that way, that he did wrong, to basically following Jung and his theories, to coming up with a whole new set of testing, to, there's a lot there. There's a lot there that we don't have time for he's something else.
And then he brought the strategies of war back to Harvard, where he began experimenting on undergraduates there.
Yes. Yeah.
Including one very famous undergraduate, Ted Kaczynski. So there's a whole ties back in.
And we'll talk about Ted in the second part of the program, because again, someone who didn't necessarily get caught by profiling. I mean, he got caught by profiling, but he didn't get caught by profiling, right?
Yeah, it was it was a profiler. Well, his brother turned him in, but the way they got the arrest warrant, it was a profiler, but he used a new type. He used a linguistic profiling, which was kind of a new idea at the time to piece together the evidence for the warrant.
And we'll talk about that in the second half of the program here. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Ted Kaczynski. We'll get a little bit into Ted Kaczynski and what made him tick, if anything. And was he mentally ill? Was he not mentally ill? There was that debate as well. We'll get into that a little bit with Rachel Corbett, our guest. And we'll talk in depth about Pasco County and Minority Report and that whole scenario. Right, wrong, or indifferent. We'll talk about the ethics of what they did in that whole program when we come back. It's a little scary, folks, as to what was going on and what's going on in Pasco County, Florida. My guest is Rachel Corbett. Boy, this book is a good one, folks. I encourage you to go pick it up. We have a link in the description of this program. It's called The Monsters We Make, Murder, Obsession, and the Rise of Criminal Profiling. Rachel Corbett is our guest. When we come back, Ted Kaczynski in Pasco County, Florida. And are they going Minority Report on the bit? We'll talk about it when we come back right here on the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. My guest is Rachel Corbett. The name of the book, The Monsters We Make, Murder, Obsession, and the Rise of Criminal Profiling. Now, before the break, we were talking a little bit about Ted Kaczynski, otherwise known as the Unabomber. And I think most of the people who are either watching or listening at least know of Ted Kaczynski, if not have lived through his reign of terror. And some people, I think the scary part of this, Rachel, is I think there's even some people who look at his manifestos and go, you know what? Some of that kind of makes sense. There is a whole culture out there of people, Rachel, who are looking at Ted Kaczynski and saying, you know what? Some of the stuff in his manifesto kind of makes sense. Although he was... You can not argue. I mean, there are psychologists out there that said the man was deranged. There was only one who said he wasn't. There's a section of his manifesto that said, well, look to the future because law enforcement is going to be monitoring you by electronic means and they're going to be infiltrating every part of your life.
Yeah, which, has borne out to be the case in the years since he wrote that. Yeah, Ted Kaczynski was a very smart guy, no question about it. He was a prodigy at Harvard, went there at 16. And he does keep kind of coming back into the news cycle every so often. There's these anarcho-primitivists who really love him. He comes back, of course, now with Luigi Mangione, who famously gave him a 4-star rating on Goodreads, I think, for the Unabomber manifesto, and has written about him. So he's perennially relevant, it seems like, and because a lot of the things he wrote about in that book and in the manifesto have come to pass and do seem fairly logical. But I do also think there is a lot more going on in his mind than his intellect. He did some very bizarre things. And I do think that the issues he raised, I think he cared about them, but I don't think they were the cause of his violence. I think there was another kind of emotional edge and another psychological factors going on.
Let's talk briefly about some of them. He did have some odd rules for his family to contact him, and then at the end shun them completely. Can you talk a little bit about what it was he told his family when it came to contacting them?
Yeah, once he moved out to the woods, his mother desperately tried to stay in touch, but he really came to hate his mother. He believed she had really wronged him, but the reasons he gave were odd. They were like, as a child, you humiliated me because you told me my dirty socks were lying around. Things that we wouldn't think of as humiliating. And then he would lash out at her. She would try to send him things to read or food or little things. And he would say like, you stupid woman, I told you, I don't want any Reader's Digests. I said, you can send me nuts and I don't know, some money or something, but nothing else. This rage that seems so bizarrely focused. But I do think it's interesting that humiliation was often the word, the feeling that he came back to.
Yeah.
Because I do think there's some relationship to what he experienced at Harvard in those experiments with Henry Murray, which were humiliation based.
Right. And again, Henry Murray, it seems like Henry Murray was driven on two things. One, he was hypersexual, and two, humiliation was the other part of it. And those two things drove him. And again, they're two Jungian philosophies. I guess you have to go back. You got to go all the way back to Jung to I mean, it all begins with the creator, right? But then that gets passed down two generations, and then it's in Kaczynski, and now Kaczynski has born a whole new generation that's alive and kicking today, right? So how do you cut the head off the snake, right? How do you?
When it's, I know, well, I mean, this is like never, the cycle doesn't seem to end, I think we need to, people like Ted Kaczynski, who had a hard time growing up anyway, because of his intellect, he was kept skipping grades ahead, and he was always the smallest, shortest boy. He felt humiliated by the women who'd reject him, humiliated by the boys who would bully him, and especially at Harvard. So if you can imagine if he had gotten some help, some therapy or something at that time, what could it have changed the outcome? If he hadn't then gone to Harvard and then been literally humiliated systematically for 3 years as part of this experiment, would he have cracked? Would whatever maybe latent psychological condition that he had not have been triggered if he hadn't been subjected to this? Like, I don't know the answer to that, but certainly he was a vulnerable boy that got just put through a bunch of situations that exacerbated it totally.
Well, then he goes out, commits the crimes, thinks he's lashing out and getting revenge. Well, then you're in for a whole new set of humiliation when you get caught. Because if he had fears before, now they're amped by 10, right?
Yeah, I mean, his biggest fear after being caught was that he's going to be psychologically profiled. He did not want to be evaluated. He did not want to be called crazy. He believed himself to be so rational and logical that it made him sane. And, I again think that might go back to his experience with the psychologist at Harvard. He did also target psychologists in his bombings sometimes. But yeah, that was his worst nightmare. And he even was willing to die. When his lawyers were building an insanity case for him to spare him from the death penalty, he said, no, I would rather die than be called insane. It didn't work. They didn't listen to him. They did it anyway. And he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia in his trial, and it totally enraged him. But he kept writing books in prison and kept corresponding with his followers and maintaining this sense of intellectual duty. But he did admit in one of his journals that he didn't kill for political reasons or for ideological, anything to do with the technocratic future he warned about. He believed that was bad, but he said at one point, I kill out of revenge. I kill because I have so much rage and it makes me feel better. And that's it. So then you have to think, where's that rage coming from? What was it?
At least he was honest. I mean,
right.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about it other than that. At least he was honest. Which you can't say for most killers. Right? Most killers they kind of give you a BS line about why they're doing it.
Yeah, I don't think that Ted was a sadist in the sense of Ted Bundy, for example.
Right.
He wasn't out there enjoying the slow torture of an intimate dynamic with the victim. Ted was bombing. He didn't know who he was going to kill. He didn't really care how or who it was. He had targets, but I think that's a very different animal, very different psychological state to be a bomber like that versus to be a serial killer like Bundy.
Now, could it be argued here, Rachel, when you talk about criminal profiling, wouldn't a criminal profiler look at Ted Kaczynski and say, now, let's talk about what a criminal profiler would say versus how he was actually caught. Because a criminal profiler would look at Ted Kaczynski and say, one, he's a coward because the way he's killing people, he's sending out bombs, killing people without seeing his target, right? So the first thing you say psychologically is this is a man who can't face his target. He has to kill without seeing the victim. So the first thing is he's cowardly, right? So they want to call him out psychologically and say, first of all, cowardly. He's probably weak. He probably is not a man of great physical stature. So they probably say he's smaller, right? Ted Kaczynski was not a small man. Right.
I thought he was much younger, too, than he was.
Yeah. They thought he was much younger than what he was. So they probably would say he was probably a teenager in his 20s. They probably think he was meek and mild. So you would probably build this profile of somebody he wasn't. He was older. He was larger in stature. He was he was smarter than what they thought. So a criminal profiler would have totally got this wrong.
Yeah, and they did. I mean, they were right that it was a white man, but that's not saying much because that's like every other bomber in American history.
Right.
But yeah, they thought he was maybe college educated, but they certainly didn't think he had a PhD and was a tenure track professor at Berkeley. I mean, that was nowhere in the and they thought because most criminals start out very young in their early 20s or teens. They predicted that this was his first, but in fact, he waited, he got his PhD, he worked at Berkeley, he was saving money very deliberately to go do this, enact this life, but it took him a long time to get there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he was completely, and he left no physical evidence on anything. This was the longest manhunt in U.S. history at that time, because there was just no way, even if they had a profile that was accurate, how would you put it on the person? Who's okay, but he's like this, but who's that? Who's the guy? And so, of course, it was his brother who, in fact, turned him in.
Yeah, and off of a handwriting sample.
Well, his wife actually read the manifesto and thought it sounded like Ted. She'd never met Ted, but she said, it sounds like the way your brother talks. And his brother read the manifesto and he goes, God, it does sound like him. He used this phrase, cool-headed logician. And David Kaczynski thought, I've never heard anybody else say that phrase. And so, and then he wrote to Ted to try to find something that would say it wasn't true. But Ted's response was very alarming, very terrifying. He called them emotional bombs, the letters he would write to his family, And so they identified the suspect that way, but then the FBI agent, James Fitzgerald, took the old writings that David Kaczynski gave him and compared them to the manifesto. And he found other phrases that were sort of, it was you can have your cake and eat it too. It was the inverse. I forget, how does the phrase go? But however we say it was the opposite.
Oh, you can eat your cake and have it too.
Yeah. So they saw that twice and written in two places. And so that was kind of the smoking gun they used to get the arrest warrant and actually go after him. But none of that was based on a profile, a traditional criminal profile.
Yeah. So really, they didn't really profile him at all. I mean, the other thing too about what would have been a traditional profile for that type of serial bomber is there would have been a political motive, because most serial bombers have a political motive.
Yeah, he certainly said he did. He claimed that he was doing this to warn people of the coming, when we're going to be human automatons, in the future. But
he threw people off with that.
Yeah. I think he believed it. But yeah, you have to think a lot of people have political motives, but they don't kill. So there's something else in these people, in addition to that political ideology. Something's wrong. Yeah. Emotionally, psychologically, something.
Right.
Also,
it's a fascinating case study. Speaking of fascinating case studies, as we begin to kind of start to wrap things up today, I have relatives in Pasco County, Florida.
Yeah.
And it's already an interesting area. I'll give you that, because criminally, it's an interesting area. It's not the most wholesome of areas in Florida to begin with. Now, the argument can be made, Rachel, that it's that way, I guess, for a reason. Now, the case studies that you have in the book, these are people that went there with wholesome intentions. They went there in a time in Pasco County's history when it was a great place to live, right? And they went there with wholesome intentions to start a new life, a great life. And at the time, explain to me why Pasco County enacted the program that they enacted and what they enacted.
There was a new sheriff who was appointed under former Governor Rick Scott. He was a young guy. He had strong political ambitions. He was sort of making a name for himself. And when he was appointed sheriff, he wanted to make his mark and he wanted to reinvent the department. So he brought in this technique that he called intelligence-led policing. And he wasn't the first to do it. We've been in New York. We had CompStat. There was Predpol was a company that was doing predictive policing in California originally, and other places. But he took it much further. Those programs have also been widely criticized for targeting certain minorities over others, and they've had, some of them have been phased out. Predpol got phased out right away. But he went further and he decided that, we can't just be reactive police, we have to be proactive. Therefore, we have to identify criminals before they make their mark. And to do that, he thought you needed to target children. Children are people who might be, young people. If crime starts often when you're in a late teenage, 20s, then you have to look at the children. And this, of course, is a very terrifying prospect because like Ted Kaczynski, you can say there's a type that commits this crime, but how you take that leap to who the actual person that committed it is very difficult. So here he created an algorithm basically that used criteria that are sometimes associated with criminal behavior. Violent people often might have been abused. They might have an incarcerated parent, those factors. But he took those factors and said, okay, look for kids who have these issues and maybe they're having problems in school and this and that. And then let's target them for enhanced policing. So instead of getting them social services or therapists or whatever children probably need in those circumstances, they started showing up at their house day and night, knocking on the doors, demanding to know their whereabouts, conducting searches, harassing the parents, arresting them at every turn, even without any cause. And so I follow one specific family down there who went through this for several years and had a pretty catastrophic outcome in the end.
There's even one child who didn't finish school because he kept not being able to show up. He was tardy over and over and over again.
Because the police were going to his house.
Yeah, because the police were showing up and putting him in jail.
Yeah, that's so. And they would put him in sort of the juvenile detention center, and he would have to await his court hearing. So they would keep him there, and it would take up to 30 days to get the court hearing. And every time they did it, the case was thrown out. The judge threw it out. But the first time that happened, he was kicked out of school. You can't miss 30 days of school in high school. So, and he was ultimately arrested so many times that I don't remember the exact number, but it was around a year of his life he spent in juvenile detention without ever having been convicted of a crime or even charged with a crime. So it totally ruined his life. A kid who already had sort of a tough background, now can't get his high school diploma. He ended up getting his GED in detention. And then his father is, thinking, well, look at his friends now. There are all these kids from juvenile detention and now, they moved to this area precisely to get out of that kind of climate, to get him in a good school. And it was just any opportunity he had was crushed by this policing system.
Yeah. And it was the system that made him who he was, not any opportunity that he had on the outside. It wasn't a gang that turned him.
Yeah. And they would find things like, maybe like an empty marijuana bag with a trace or something, things that many teenagers would have. But he would get caught for it. And it was never enough to actually charge him with anything. It was just a bag that who knows. But that's not a reason to kick him out of. So that's not what, you don't get expelled for that, for example, you don't kicked out of. So yeah, it made them get caught for minor infractions in ways that other students wouldn't, or they wouldn't do anything wrong at all, and they would just get angry. Some parents were getting so angry at the harassment at their doors that they would slam a door or something, and then the cops would say that's assaulting an officer. They would drive them to the end of their wits, and then something would happen, and it's just. I mean, the number of, they were actively measuring their grass with rulers and saying, oh, we can get him for overgrown grass. Let's give him a citation. I mean, it was just cruel harassment. I think there's no other way to think about it.
It was insane. It was absolutely insane. Yeah. And I you go from that to some of the stories you see coming out of Pasco County now, where it's, people half naked in Walmart that are, committing the weirdest crimes.
Yeah, that's a weird place, I have to say. I went there for the first time while reporting this story. It's got such a history, and there were all these other shocking things happening at the, in the jail, where an officer put his gun through the slot in the door where you give a prisoner their food, and shot a man in his cell. I mean, just shocking things the police were doing down there. It's
bizarre land. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bizarre land.
And you brought up Minority Report, which it absolutely feels like. And in fact, the statement I got from the sheriff's department, they wouldn't agree to be interviewed, but they gave me a statement that said, this is not like Minority Report. That was funny because I was like, oh, I didn't ask. I mean, that did cross my mind, but I didn't ask that. So you already know it does seem like that.
Yeah, you already know it is. Yeah. Why would you mention it? Right.
Yeah. So and there were lawsuits. The department supposedly was forced to end this program, but it's not clear that they have. It's not, now they call it something like focused offenders policing or something like this. It's so. In this, there's not a lot of that there's a lot of support for the police and the sheriff down there. So I don't know how it changes in this particular climate.
I suppose you have a different class of criminal down there committing atrocious crimes, but they're not spending enough time on that's going on.
Yes, those are quality of life crimes they were focusing on and misdemeanors. I mean, that's the thing too, that the violent crime was on the rise. They weren't targeting violent criminals with this program. I mean, they just said these will be violent criminals in the future. They predicted that. And so, and they would sometimes look at their past records of offenses, and sometimes the kids had done something, but again, it's not enough to take away their constitutional rights, their freedoms. Right. So.
But you gotta let people commit the crime first. You can't, there's no such thing as a thought crime, especially in America. There's no such thing as a thought crime. You can't get somebody for thinking something, you can't prove somebody thought something. It's just, that's the whole idea of Minority Report.
Exactly. And this, I get police want to stop crime before it starts. That is an understandable position, but you can't. You just don't know. You can't apply it to any individual person. You can make predictions about types and categories and places, but you can't. When you start putting the policing part into that, then I think we get into trouble.
Right. Yeah. And again, we're supposed to be a free country. Let people live. Let them, But until it infringes on other people's rights, let people live. Right.
Right.
It's none of your business.
Right.
And it seems, and if you, again, I encourage you to go get Rachel's book, The Monsters We Make, Murder, Obsession, and the Rise of Criminal Profiling, to read about just how much the Pasco County Police Department and the Sheriff's Department infringed on people's rights, these people's rights, because it was an extreme overreach. They were in every corner. And when I say every corner, I'm talking every corner of their house, their yard, their lives.
Peering in through the windows at night, terrifying the children who lived in the house. Would climb over the fence, look over the fence, and they would, just show up in the middle of the, I mean, it's terrifying. It's the father I spoke to has this realization at one point. He said he was away at work or something, and the police officers were banging on the window of his two daughters' room, little girls, and they called him. And they were terrified. They said, "Dad, there's men banging on the window," and he knew who it was, but then his instinct was to hang up and call the police, call 911, because that's what you do when there's strange men at your house threatening your daughters. But then they're like, "Oh yeah, we already have officers on the scene there." And it was like, what do? The people who are supposed to keep you safe are actually the threat here in this case. So who's the criminal and who's not is the question. It's a line that often gets crossed in this book that I found. The people who are supposed to protect you are not necessarily the people who are, they actually could be the ones doing the harm. That's Henry Murray. I think that's the case here. Who's the criminal?
2.7%. That's a pretty low number to say, you know what, that's a science. That's not a science, it's a guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And fine if you want to make guesses and write narratives and imagine what you think, but then don't call it a science and don't implement it as practice with real life and repercussions for people. I think that's where, just the pop culture imagination with profiling has influenced the real life policing. They do these things to live up to the fantasy, and they go to crime conventions, and it's all just this kind of bizarro world of a fantasy of what we could do. And I understand why we want to believe we can know what a serial killer is thinking. I have that desire too. It's kind of human.
Oh yeah, I think we'd all love to know. But I mean, there's tendencies. I think we can say there's tendencies of killers to do certain things, but we can't predict. You can't predict what a person's going to do.
Right. That's where you get into real trouble, because the predictions are often just your pre-existing expectations. You bring to it whatever life experience you have, whoever you've policed in the past. And it's just simply not accurate. It's just been shown time and time again. And the data you're using can be biased. The criteria that they put in for this, it comes from psychological studies, these correlations between abuse and criminality, but there's certainly not causation, and just a misreading and misunderstanding of the real science.
Right.
Which we should keep doing. We should keep trying to understand, but we shouldn't make assumptions, because it just takes us further from the truth. This paradoxical thing, we keep trying to understand, but every time we watch these TV shows that are nonsense, it's just taking us further from reality. But we feel like we know, so we feel safer, we feel in control if we can kind of neutralize the threat by knowing it somehow.
So last question then for you, Rachel. Is there anything that Hollywood can do to be a better service to us?
I don't think Hollywood's interested in being a service to anyone but themselves.
Because it seems like in 42 minutes, it seems like we're getting these fantastic stories of someone going, I think I know what this guy's going to do, right? And then they seem to accurately, read the mind of this somewhat stupid guy who's out there committing all these crimes.
Yeah. I mean, I talked to an FBI profiler in the book who consults on some of these shows, and he says he's always trying to kind of push back, like, well, there's different kinds of victims. It's not always the young white girl, or tries to push them in different directions, but they really have a formula and it works. It gets people to turn on the TV, and people like it. It's doing something, it's mostly women who watch these shows and listen to the podcasts. It's doing something for us psychologically to, I think, feel like we can understand it. Even though we know it's a fictional show, it sort of makes sense. They draw some conclusions that feel like they could be real. They wrap it up, like usually catch the guy, and then you can go to sleep feeling good that, justice was done somewhere, even if it's imaginary.
I understand it's a salve on society's wound, but at the same time, you still turn on the news and you see everything that happens. So, I mean, there has to be a little bit of realization that you know, that for
well, the two might be feeding each other. You know, maybe we get
yeah.
the scarier the news, the more we kind of try to claim we control it or understand it or narrativize it so that we can own it somehow.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I think you're right there. I think you're right. The Monsters We Make, Murder, Obsession, and the Rise of Criminal Profiling. Folks, I encourage you to go get this book and realize just exactly how inexact a science it really is. I think you'd be shocked. I think you'd really, really be shocked. Rachel Corbett, I want to thank you so much for being on the program today.
Thank you so much. It's been fun.
It's been very fun. Thank you so much. Folks, it's time now for us to lighten things up a little bit. It's time now for us to get a little dumb crimes and stupid criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time again, the time you've all been looking forward to. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. And with that, I need a co-hostess. And so I ponder, not Christian ponder, because he'd probably be a better quarterback than the one we have currently, although he's trying. And we'll give him that. He's trying. Much like myself, I'm trying. I'm trying to come up with an intro, and I'm failing miserably, much like that quarterback we had this past weekend. But unlike him, I succeed by the end of this thing. Somewhat. But here she is, ladies and gentlemen. She's intelligent, she's witty, she's funny, she's easy on the eyes, and unlike me, she succeeds most times when she sets out to put her mind to things. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen. Eater of worlds, slayer of charts, maker of many, many fine books on the paranormal. Jessica Freeberg. Hi, Jess.
Hey, I think you did great with that intro.
Well, I tried.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, a lot of times just like J.J. McCarthy in the pocket, I wing it. Mm-hmm. That's all I can do.
As long as everyone's trying. That's all that really matters, right?
That's right.
Give your best effort.
That's right. Just give your best effort. Just go out there and do your best. Do your best and forget the rest. Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. Got a big show today. Big show. Big show. We have kind of an unusual story to start us out here today, Jess, before we get into the funny. It's what I like to call a little bit of ironic funny. Not a ha-ha funny, but are you effing kidding me kind of funny.
Okay, I like that kind.
Yeah, we're going to go to Tennessee to start out today, Jess. First of all, everything good with the weekend? You had a good weekend?
Oh, yeah, it was a great weekend. Okay. I spent a lot of time just writing, so it's kind of boring, but productive.
Nothing boring. That's a good weekend. It's a good weekend. I threw things at my TV. That's how I spent this weekend. Started at Friday night, threw things at the TV during the Gopher game, ended Sunday throwing things at the Vikings at the TV.
Yeah.
I threw my arm out.
Did it help? I was going to say, did it make you feel better?
No.
Sounds like it made you feel worse.
No, I need to go to the doctor and figure out how I repair a broken arm. I'm an old man. All right. We go to Tennessee with this story. A Tennessee death row inmate has declined to choose between the electric chair and lethal injection.
Oh, okay. He just doesn't want to decide.
And he was given the choice. When you're given the choice of one or the other, you have to choose. He just said, you know what? How about option C? There's no option C.
How do you pick? I mean, I'd have a hard time making that decision.
It is Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. This guy right here, he just has decided, you know what? I maybe there is an option C. And they said, no, there's not an option C.
Or D, none of the above?
Yeah, D, none of the above. Not so much. Tennessee death row inmate Harold Wayne Nichols. I love the fact that every well-known killer on death row is, you give all three names. If I ever end up in jail for any reason, I have the coolest middle name that
Petunia. What is it?
Well, it just rolls off the tongue. It's Timothy David Dennis. There you go.
Oh, I do like that. Timothy David Dennis.
Yeah. So I'd be the coolest serial killer ever because it rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
And it's also the initials for the impaired line on your phones, TDD.
Oh, and that's a good serial killer moniker too.
Yeah.
TDD.
Yeah.
TDD killer.
The TDD killer. It kind of sounds like a venereal disease, but yeah. But it's kind of cool.
Clear that up with a little penicillin. No big deal.
Yeah, that's right. A little bit of penicillin will clear that right up. But Harold Wayne Nichols on Monday declined to choose between the electric chair and lethal injection for his December 11th execution, meaning the state will default. You don't get to say, I'm not going to choose, so we're just going to put it off, and then smile and go, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, they default to lethal injection.
Okay. I think that'd be what I'd pick.
But here's the thing, we've had experts on the show who tell you that lethal injection isn't necessarily the most fun way to go or the least painful way to go.
Just electrocution just seems terrible, doesn't it?
It might be quicker.
Really?
Have you ever heard about first of all, lethal injection was not discovered by a doctor, nor was it built by a doctor. It was built by a traveling salesman.
Yes, I have heard this before.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah. And a lot of times you end up drowning in your own fluids and burning to death. So you just can't scream because it shuts down your systems. But the death is a slow one. It takes up to 10 minutes for you to die. You're well aware of the pain, and you're in pain for up to 10 minutes before you die.
Well, what did this guy do?
Oh, well, let's judge on that, shall we? And then we'll let you know.
Let's see if he deserves to suffer for 10 minutes.
Whereas with old Sparky, it's kind of it's a brrr, and then, you probably suffer for a minute or two.
Yeah.
You know what's actually...
There's no good way. Like hanging, that seems terrible. What if you don't die right away and you're just like swinging there?
That's true. You know what the quickest way is, believe it or not?
Firing squad.
That's right.
Yeah.
Firing squad is the quickest way to die. And the most humane. But
someone just shoots you in the head, you're out.
It's the visual of it, though, that people think is inhumane. Yeah. Nichols was sentenced to death in 1990. He's been on death row, Jess, for 35 years. He's had a nice long life.
I don't know which is worse, that he's been sitting there that long or that 1990 was 35 years ago.
Yeah, right. After he was convicted of raping and murdering Karen Pulley, a 21-year-old student at Chattanooga State University 2 years earlier. He has 2 weeks now to change his mind about choosing which method will be used. Tennessee Department of Corrections spokesperson Dorinda Carter said in an email. He was scheduled to be executed in 2020 and had chosen the electric chair at the time, but then was given a reprieve due to COVID-19. Tennessee inmates who were convicted of crimes before January of 1999 were permitted to choose electrocution over the state's preferred method of lethal injection. Although several states still permit the use of the electric chair, it has only been used 5 times in the past decade, all in Tennessee.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So most states go
with lethal injection.
Lethal injection.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's kind of almost torturous to make them choose, don't you think?
You know what? I guess it's their right to want to go out the way they want to go out, I guess, right?
I guess. Well, it shouldn't be really their right. They didn't let the person choose how they were going out.
Very true.
We should just kill them the way they killed the person there.
That is kind of an eye for an eye deal. Yeah.
Yeah, rape and murder him how he raped and murdered her.
Not a bad idea. Yeah. Although it'd be funny to do it with someone who is much smaller and weaker than him. I mean, a little comedy of errors, but yeah. And then just have a bunch of guns pointed on him by a bunch of prison guards. So, he'd have to take it. I know I have a very sick sense of humor, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no good way. And it actually makes me sad. Even if he might have rehabilitated, he might be a different person now. Like, it's just, that's such a mental torture to have to decide how you're going to go out.
Yeah. At the time that Nichols selected electrocution, Tennessee's lethal injection protocol used 3 different drugs in series. It was a process that inmates, attorneys at the time, claimed was riddled with problems. Their concerns were shown to have merit in 2022 when Governor Bill Lee paused executions, including a second execution date for Nichols. An independent review of the state's lethal injection process found that none of the drugs prepared for the 7 inmates executed in Tennessee since 2018 had been properly tested. So they maintain that the drugs may not have even had proper effect to execute properly.
So that's why it takes so long.
Yeah.
Because they're not like really that lethal.
Right. So
they're like lethal-ish.
Yeah, lethal-ish. It'll kill you, but not in the proper amount of time.
Eventually,
yeah. It'll get around to it. Right. The Correction Department issued a new execution protocol last December that utilizes the single drug pentobarbital, or pentobarbital, rather. Attorneys for several death row inmates have sued over the new protocol, but a trial in that case is not scheduled until April. So literally, pardon the language, they're bitching about the one drug that'll put them out. They're like, wait a minute, time out. We really love the old process of the 3 different because, it gives us a little more time, right, to come to Jesus, so to speak. They're bitching about the rusty spoon. It's pretty much is what it is.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Now, here's the thing, Jess. Nichols confessed to raping and murdering Pulley, as well as several other rapes in the Chattanooga area. Although he expressed remorse at trial, he admitted that he would have continued his violent behavior had he not been arrested.
Wow.
So, you know what, Nia? I think it's time.
Yeah. I mean, it's rough because my only issue with the death penalty is if there's any doubt, if there is a little kernel of maybe they didn't do it, then I don't think they should be executed. But when they said, yeah, I did it and I would have kept doing it.
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, well, but it's still sad because once upon a time he was a little boy who had all this potential and something messed him up. Like what broke him to make him do that?
Well, is it nature or nurture? I guess
got to be a combination, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, was it truly, a lack of nurture that turned him into this killing machine, or was it really part of nature that he got a taste for blood and said, you know what, that's what I've always meant to be. I've always meant to be this killing machine and nothing more,
Sad.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right, we can start to kick it into a funnier gear here. I mean, we're going to start to turn that corner with this story. It is still a sadder story, but it's got a weird twist to it. We go to New Mexico, where a man is accused of killing 2 victims, although he tells police that a cockroach told him to do it.
Okay.
Right.
The cockroach.
Yeah, cockroach. Sometimes, the devil tells you to do it. Sometimes it's a cockroach sitting on you. It's a little like Jiminy Cricket sitting on your shoulder.
Oh, it's kind of cute when you put it that way.
Yeah, but an evil Jiminy Cricket. 25-year-old Alexis Hernandez said he'd received an encrypted message and a cockroach that he needed to kill, authorities have claimed. Ooh, this is some big-time spy stuff right here. A man in New Mexico is facing murder charges in connection with the death of 2 victims before telling authorities that a cockroach ordered him to do it. That's right. You heard that right. On Friday, November 7th at approximately 10:27 p.m. local time, Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, South Valley Command deputies responded to reports of gunfire near the 1400 block of Entrada Bonita Southwest. Per a Facebook post, the BCSO said when deputies arrived, they located 2 deceased adult males inside the residence with apparent gunshot wounds. 3 additional adults and 2 young children were also found inside the home. The adults were detained for questioning, and the children were safely removed from the scene, according to the Post, adding that the suspect was in custody. The suspect had been identified as Alexis Hernandez per an arrest warrant affidavit obtained by People magazine. I'm going to show you a picture of this guy, Jess. This is the kind of man who gets talked to by cockroaches right here.
Does he have like, what's going on with his face?
I know. It looks like he like hit the dunk tank full of crap, right?
Yeah. Or fell in a vat of acid. I can't decide if his face is dirty or his skin's coming off.
A little of both. A little of column A, a little of column B. Yeah. Let's just say exfoliating is in his future. Yeah. According to jail records seen by People magazine, the 25-year-old Hernandez was booked into the Metropolitan Detention Center on the morning of Saturday, November 8th, and is facing 2 open counts of murder in the first degree. After officers responded to the shooting on Friday, they were allegedly met by Hernandez at the front door, and he had a firearm on his waistband and a Marine Corps saber on his hip. That according to the arrest warrant affidavit. The suspect reportedly told officers he was in the Marines and had to do what he had to do. He was detained and had allegedly said there were 2 bodies inside the property. Now, Hernandez allegedly believed that the owner of the property had been stalking him by placing cameras in the lights. That, according to the document, he also heard creepy voices coming from the vents. I think we can see that mental illness is at play here. Officers discovered that a deceased man with possible gunshot wounds in the front of the house, or was in the front of the house after entering the residence, while a second man with apparent stab wounds was found in an attached apartment. One of the victims was the owner of the property, the report stated, with authorities adding that the suspect had confirmed he knew both of the deceased men. Hernandez said he had been getting signs to kill the property owner. The document noted that the suspect had received an encrypted message in a cockroach because the property owner did not like cockroaches. I need to chew on that for a minute.
So the message came through something which he hated.
Yeah, he got the encrypted message in a cockroach because the property owner didn't like cockroaches. So that's how you get the message to the guy to kill the guy, because he'll never see it that way, I guess.
When he says encrypted message in the cockroach, did it like come to him and like squirt out the message like printer or something? Like it came out as, or did he like, hey, that guy? That kind of message.
There's a guy over there you got to kill. It's got like Mr. Hanky. Hey, buddy, there's a guy over there you got to kill.
That's a perfect cockroach voice.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, here's a gun and a knife. You choose which one. I don't care as long as he dies. You know, I mean, it's kind of a weird thing, you know, for a cockroach to request.
Yeah.
You know,
strange.
If a cockroach ever comes up and requests something of me, and I ever come to you and say, hey, Jess, I had this weird conversation with a cockroach, and I think I need to kill somebody, I need you to just calmly put a straitjacket on me and take me to Anoka State Hospital. Don't tell me where we're going. Just put me in the back of your car and say, we're going for a little ride, Timmy. Just
going to put you in the trunk.
Yeah, just enjoy the scenery. Here's a juice box.
Yeah.
You're going to need some
to a nice padded room, buddy. You'll be okay.
That's right. You're going to take a nice long rest. Maybe even working too hard. So I don't know how this cockroach gives him the message. He said the message told Alexis that he needed to kill him, adding that the suspect had allegedly been seeing signs all around him that he saw and couldn't ignore.
Man, schizophrenia that's rough. I mean,
do you see the cockroach comes up and goes, do you see all the signs? Do you see them all around? Can't ignore them, buddy. Go get them.
Here's a knife. Here's a gun. Go crazy.
Literally.
Yeah. The suspect had previously bought a Glock handgun for protection. Sure he did. The warrant stated, adding that he'd been afraid for his life when the two men reportedly took him into the back room of the house. Hernandez then allegedly shot the property owner in the head and the other man in the kitchen. That's not what we call that area of his body, but okay. He then allegedly shot the victims again after going back to his Honda Pilot to reload the gun, the document added. The suspect insisted he was not going to take the two children that were in the house or do anything to them. But he did say he knew the juveniles were in the property and that they'd seen him shoot the two victims. The BCSO said in their Facebook post, BCSO homicide detectives have taken over the investigation. Detectives are continuing to gather evidence and interview witnesses. Additional information, including the identities of those involved, will be released once next of kin notifications are complete and the investigation allows, the sheriff's office added. The Bernardino County Sheriff's Office didn't immediately respond when contacted for additional information. Although they are trying to get a hold of the cockroach to see what exactly he had to do with all this.
Exactly. I think there's some charges pending.
Yeah. Although the cockroach had this to say,
I didn't do nothing. I just told them, hey, I think these guys are shady.
That's all the cockroach had to say.
Yeah. Can't convict him for that.
Yep.
Hey, I didn't buy the gun. I don't even carry cash.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's that. All right. Our next story has to do, you might remember a little bit about this story from earlier. I think we talked about this story maybe even a couple of years ago, but it's all finally come around to a guilty verdict. A woman has pled guilty to lying about her astronaut wife accessing her bank account from a space station.
Oh.
Do you remember this story by chance?
Kind of ringing a little bell up in there.
Okay. Well, let's get down to the nitty-gritty on this deal. A former Air Force intelligence officer has pleaded guilty to lying to a federal agent by falsely claiming that her estranged astronaut wife illegally accessed her bank account while aboard the International Space Station for 6 months. Prosecutors in Houston, Texas said Friday. The guilty plea by 50-year-old Summer Worden on Thursday comes more than 5 years after she was indicted in the space case for lying about actions by her wife, Ann McClain, who is not John McClain's sister, believe it or not, but she is a U.S. Army colonel and West Point graduate and Iraq War combat veteran while they were in the midst of a divorce. The claim came at a time when Worden said that the couple was engaged in a custody battle over what Worden's then 6-year-old son, who had been conceived through in vitro fertilization and carried by a surrogate. Worden's trial in the case was scheduled to begin next Monday in a Houston federal court. The Kansas resident was accused of making false statements about McClain to NASA's Office of Inspector General and the Federal Trade Commission, where she alleged that McCain had committed identity theft. Worden, in July, alleged that her estranged spouse had guessed the password and illegally accessed her bank account while the spouse was deployed to the International Space Station. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Texas said in a statement headlined "Far Out" on Friday. However, Worden had actually opened the account in April of 2018, the office said. Both parties had accessed it until January of 2019, when Worden changed the credentials. The investigation revealed that Worden had granted her spouse access to her bank records from at least 2015, including her login credentials, the statement said. At the time of the alleged illegal access, McClain was preparing for what NASA billed as the first all-female spacewalk, which was later scrapped because the agency didn't have enough spacesuits to fit the astronauts, if you remember that particular mission. McClain's attorney told the New York Times in 2019 that she had checked the account to monitor the family's finances and that she had never been told by Worden that she could not have access to the account. McClain was aboard the space station from December of 2018 through June of 2019. She recently commanded the SpaceX Crew 10 mission or Crew 10 crew mission, rather, to the space station from March of this year until August. Worden, who remains free on bond, is scheduled to be sentenced on February 12th. She faces a maximum possible sentence of up to 5 years in prison. CNBC has requested comments from attorneys for Worden and McLean. So imagine this, Jess. You've got a shared account with the hubby, and let's just say he's an astronaut, okay?
Okay.
And you say, boy, he's been ripping me off left and right, except for they don't have that kind of internet in space. Do you think that that's going to fly?
I mean, I would think not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I would think that'd be pretty tough to prove. You know.
Yeah. You can't be stealing money when you're in space.
Plus, I mean, what are you going to spend it on?
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. I mean, you're in space. I mean, are you paying off aliens?
Hmm. You're just floating around up there.
I mean, it's not like there's a huge space casino you can go gamble at, or In-N-Out Burger you can go spend money at. I mean, there's not a lot up there to blow your money on, right?
Yeah. Maybe you could bribe your other astronaut friend to give you their dehydrated ice cream or whatever they eat up there.
You could buy up all the Tang in space. Yeah. I own all the Tang. Yep. Which I wish I could claim in real life, but I don't. But yeah, I don't know.
Otherwise, there's not much.
Yeah, there's not much you can do with all that money up there in space. So it's kind of a BS story. Yeah.
It's a little silly.
Yeah, you can't really. Yeah, you can't get away with that. Yeah, it probably should have had a better alibi. Yeah. Our next story has to do with a former Pennsylvania police chief who's accused of dealing cocaine and stealing law enforcement rifle. Yeah, yay, guns and
no, that's bad.
Guns and coke. Why stay on the right side of the law when that other side of the law is right over here? Right.
It's a fine line.
It is a fine line. What do they say? It's a thin line between love and hate. Isn't that what the song says?
Yeah.
A former chief of police in western Pennsylvania is facing drug and weapons charges after authorities say he was allegedly caught trying to sell cocaine and was also in possession of a stolen law enforcement rifle. Shame on you. Investigators at the state attorney general's office say 56-year-old Eric Doubt, I believe that's a heck of a last name, who was reportedly employed as an officer with UPMC, was under police surveillance when he allegedly tried to deal the drugs in Armstrong County. How would you like to, let's just say you got a little bit of a coke habit. You're looking for a new dealer. And here comes the chief of police. And you're like, oh, I've been busted. And he goes, no. I'm here to sell it to you.
Yeah. And you're like, yeah, right, buddy.
You're like, yeah, right. Okay, here. Okay, just take me and I'm sorry. I'll repent. I'll be good. And he's like, no, just put your hands down here. How much you looking for? And you're like, huh?
He's so confusing. And I'd probably be a little bit high from the last time I was doing drugs, so I wouldn't know what to think.
Right. I'd be scared straight. I mean, at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't know what to think. Authorities say he's also alleged to have stolen an AR-style rifle from the evidence locker at his former department in Westmoreland County. This type of conduct by a trusted officer of the law violates the oath that he took to keep our community safe, said the Attorney General on... No, his name is Attorney General Sunday. These people have weird names.
Wait, what?
Yes.
That's his name?
Attorney General Sunday. He's always off. Attorney General Sunday.
The other guy was Doubt?
The other guy's Doubt.
What the heck?
I don't know. As a sworn officer, he was duty-bound to remove these dangers from the community, and instead we alleged he peddled these poisons, said Attorney General Sunday. Investigators note that UPMC was helpful in assisting agents throughout the investigation. Officials say Doubt was arrested earlier this week and jailed on charges of felony possession with the intent to deliver and receiving stolen property. So there you go. One more crooked cop in the stir. Some people love Christmas, Jess. Some people just hate it so much they'll do anything to get rid of it. Even especially if you do it before Thanksgiving. Some people need their turkey before they see a Christmas tree.
I get it. I do have a few Christmas decorations up, though.
Do you? Oh, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. I thought about actually putting some lights up before Thanksgiving, but then I kind of need to have my turkey first.
Yeah, we're like Christmas outside, but Thanksgiving inside right now.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong.
Because we tried to put stuff up before it got cold.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the thing. If you try to put your decorations up outside after Thanksgiving, sometimes it's a little too cold, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for that. But in Kingsburg, California, where it's nice and warm, you don't have an excuse. I mean, you can put it up after Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, the municipality of Kingsburg decided, you know what? We're going to put a huge Christmas tree up. We're going to put it up right in the middle of town. Well, right in the middle of town happens to be right in the middle of Draper Street. And somebody decided, you know what? Screw Draper Street. We're going to try and take the tree out. They tried to take it out with their car.
Oh, no.
Yeah. A driver crashed right into the Kingsburg Christmas tree and then fled.
He's running away.
Yeah, here's a little picture of the damage that was done to the Kingsburg Christmas tree right there. Boom.
Well, it's still standing, so.
Yeah, much like an Elton John song. It's still standing better than it ever did. Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Look at me quoting old Elton John lyrics. Can't tell your age by that, can you? We go to Kingsburg, California, where the search is underway for the Grinch who struck Christmas early this year in a hit and run in Kingsburg, according to the city. According to Kingsburg police, a driver sped into the base of the city's Christmas tree located on Draper Street near Smith Street. Officers report the driver sped off, leaving a large dent beneath the tree. That just makes for more presents, so you can fill it in with presents. The only problem is
it makes more room.
It does. The only problem is you have to run across traffic to claim them. That's kind of like Frogger, right?
Yeah. Go, kids, go.
Yeah, it's like a human version of Frogger. If you can live through, not being hit by traffic, you get to claim your prize. That's the fun. See? But they left a large dent beneath the tree. Public Works and Kingsburg firefighters responded to reassemble and secure the tree last Saturday morning. City officials confirmed the final assembly and star placement on the tree will take place in the coming week. While the tree has been secured, officers are actively searching for the driver responsible. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Kingsburg Police Department at 559-897-4418.
Awesome.
You know what? If you do call it in, you're a mean one, Mr. Snitch. Just saying. That's a really bad joke, I know, but
I liked it, though.
Oh, thank you. Is that a parrot in your pocket, or are you just happy to see TSA? That's the question. A man is charged with smuggling heavily sedated parakeets in his pants at the U.S.-Mexico border. Oh, Jess, we're going to... Yeah, can you imagine that?
No, I'm trying to wrap my brain around. Even if they're heavily sedated and they're not like.
Now I have the Ramones in my head. Ba 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 ba. I want to be sedated. And then you see a little parakeet come out.
They're just sleeping in there. But what if they wake up and then they start pecking at your junk?
Oh no! Ow! That's what they look like on the conveyor belt.
Oh, they're really sleepy.
Little sleepy parrots. By the way, Sleepy Parrots is a great name for a punk band. It is. A man was charged with smuggling after Customs and Border Protection officers at the U.S.-Mexico border noticed a suspicious bulge in his pants and know he wasn't happy to see him, only to learn that he had 2 parakeets hidden in his underwear.
Those poor birds in his underwear.
Mm-hmm.
Just nestled in next to his sweaty balls.
Yep. But imagine if they did wake up. I mean,
right?
All of a sudden you hear...
That's quite a risk he's taking.
It is. The brave man with the bulging parakeets is named Jesse Agus Martinez. He's a 35-year-old U.S. citizen living in Tijuana, Mexico. He was indicted Friday after authorities said he tried to smuggle 2 heavily sedated orange-fronted parakeets, a protected species, by the way, into the United States late last month. The birds are an endangered species native to Mexico and were found on October 23rd, apparently unconscious, but breathing and heavily sedated inside 2 brown sacks. That's no way to talk about Jesse, by the way.
2 brown sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if they suffocated? I feel like there's just so much going on down there. They could just get their little faces covered up by parts.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, he could take a sack to the face and then suffocate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Oh.
I know I should probably be reading this during Not Safe for Work, so kids, cover your ears. This next quote. When questioned by customs officers, Martinez claimed several times that the bulge in his pants were his pierin, which is a Spanish word for penis.
Wow.
He was quite proud, actually.
He's like, I'm just really hung.
He said, "No, officer, this is my pierin. Would you like to touch it?"
And the officer's like, no freaking way. Now I have to see.
Yep. No, whip it out on the table, son. I don't think it is. However, when authorities took a closer look, they discovered the 2 parakeets hidden inside his underwear. They were like, no, son. No, those are parakeets. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service agents then examined the birds and identified them as juvenile orange-fronted parakeets. The birds were sent to a Department of Agriculture Animal Import Center for quarantine and reportedly now are in stable condition. Orange-fronted parakeets, also known as Eupsitula canicularis, nailed it, are listed as vulnerable on the red list of threatened species of the International Union of Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. The group notes that the pet trade poses the biggest threat to the critically endangered birds as their population continues to decrease due to trappings. Look at how cute this little guy is, though. Would you smuggle him in your pants, Jess?
No, and I feel bad for him because he's so dirty now.
Yeah. Well, he'll never look at a dick the same again. I'm just saying. I mean, every time.
He probably smells funny.
He probably does. He's probably got a little ball cheese trapped under his beak.
Gross.
I mean, probably someone puts on a porn movie in the background. He probably goes, rah, rah, rah. He probably gets really nervous.
PTSD.
Yeah. He's like, rah, rah, up and down, up and down. He probably gets really, he gets so unnerved. He probably needs, Xanax is probably in his water. I mean, he's probably permanently scarred.
I think you'd have to give me some happy pills if I had to. I was stuck in someone's pants.
Yeah. Between 1998 and 2008, more than 8,000 of the green and orange parakeets were legally captured, making them the second most sought after parrot species in Mexico.
How does this guy even think that this is a good idea? Like, can you just imagine the thought process as he's trying to figure out, how am I going to get him back to the U.S.? I know.
I'll put him in my pants.
I'll put him in my pants and just pretend like I'm hung like a horse. It's going to work.
Okay, when you put it like that, it sounds stupid. But, if you just kind of calm down and think, you know what, I'll just walk through customs with them in my pants. Hey, it could work.
You go through the x-ray machine, like, doesn't everyone go through that now? They're going to see that there's, extra bones and stuff coming through the x-ray in your pants.
I have a boner in my pierin. And it has a beak.
So dumb.
It has 2 beaks. The ladies love the beak. Evidently, Mexico banned the commercial and subsistence trade of its 22 parrot species in 2008, smugglers still attempt to make a profit off the highly sought-after species. If convicted, Martinez will face a fine up to $250,000 and a maximum of 20 years in prison.
Wow. That does not seem worth the risk.
Maybe they're high buck.
I mean, how much can you get paid for them? They can't be more than $250,000.
It doesn't say. It doesn't say how much they're worth. I don't know, but to put 2 sleeping parrots near your junk, it has to be quite a bit. That's all I'm saying. You know?
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah. All right. You know of my disdain for United Airlines.
Yes, we are familiar.
The anger is quite high with this one over on this side of the microphone.
Yes.
This week, they might have done something halfway decent.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they going to redeem themselves in your eyes?
No, but they might have done something halfway decent.
Okay.
Although they might have let a situation go a little too far before they did something decent. Are you ready for this? This is why, again, United Airlines is the white trash of the skies. Are you ready for this?
What did they do? I'm ready.
A United Airlines flight attendant was reportedly 10 times over the legal limit and drank vodka to calm down. She did.
Oh, I mean, that'll do it.
She had her own still in the back of the plane, evidently.
She comes out wearing one of those hats with just a couple bottles of vodka.
Yeah, she's got the little construction hat with she's got the construction helmet with the beer on each side.
It's like, I'm just nervous, you guys. I'm a nervous flyer.
I'm a nervous flyer. You settle down with me. Have a drink with me. I don't want to drink alone. Come on.
Shots for everyone.
If you drink enough of these little bottles, everything is cool. Everything's just cool. Everyone's so cool. UK courts confirmed that 56-year-old Margit Lake was charged with performing an aviation function with alcohol over the prescribed limit. I didn't know you could prescribe alcohol, but evidently you can. A United Airlines flight attendant working a transatlantic flight to London was reportedly 10 times over the legal alcohol limit during the trip. Local police confirmed to People magazine, according to a report from the Daily Mail, confirmed to People by the UK's Metropolitan Police. 56-year-old flight attendant Margit Lake was transported to a local hospital after arriving at London's Heathrow Airport on October 17th. The woman allegedly drank multiple miniature bottles of vodka. I told you, Jess.
Nailed it.
After sneaking them onto the 10-hour flight from San Francisco. In court proceedings heard by the outlet, paramedics reported the California woman had low blood pressure and smelled alcohol on her breath. A blood test later revealed that Lake had 216 milligrams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood, which is more than 10 times the legal limit of 20 milligrams of for UK flight attendants, per the BBC. So 10 times the amount. According to Daily Mail, in court, Lake's attorney, Ben Lansbury, said the defendant was feeling isolated and had been dealing with grief and was estranged from her family. She had the alcohol because she needed to calm down. It was something of a shock to her as to what happened. She deeply regrets what happened, Lansbury said. Ms. Lake has been attending Alcoholics Anonymous almost daily since the last hearing. She is supported by colleagues here in the UK, and they sit in the back of the courts. So they were there as character witnesses. A representative for the UK's Ministry of Justice confirmed to People that Lake was charged with performing an aviation function when alcohol was in the breath, blood, and urine over the prescribed limit. However, the woman was not sentenced to jail time. Magistrate Tony Delliston said, "You're not going to prison. We are going to deal with this with a financial penalty." The Daily Mail reported that Lake was hit with a 1,461-pound financial penalty and a 584-pound victim surcharge and an 85-pound court cost. So the total cost was more than 2,700 pounds. So right around $2,500, right around there.
That'll sting.
Yeah, that hurts. I wonder if she got to keep her job with the white trash of the skies. That would be interesting.
Yeah, they didn't tell us though, huh?
No, normally they require you to go to treatment for something like that.
Yeah. And then they let you come back. And they just say, don't do that again.
Yeah. Next time, shoot up some heroin in the veins where it's not so, it's not so obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want it on your breath. We want you to be able to somewhat perform for the people.
Yeah.
You know, or between the toes so that, they don't see the track marks.
Between the toes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just don't wear any open-toed shoes. If you would.
That makes me cringe. That sounds so painful.
All right. I think we're going to get into some food stories here briefly. Food, as we know, Jess, food will drive people nuts. I mean, if a lack of food, somebody taking your food, somebody messing with your food, anything food related, people absolutely lose their stuff, right? Well, a soup shortage led to a vase attack and an arrest at a Miami assisted living facility.
Oh, no.
That's right. We're combining food in Florida in this story. We're going to Miami.
Don't mess with their soup.
That's right. Don't mess with the soup, especially at an assisted living facility, because let's face it, teeth are at a premium. And so soft foods are also at a premium.
Yeah, they're very important.
That's right. We go to Miami, where a 63-year-old man was arrested Wednesday after police say he erupted in anger over dinner at a Miami assisted living facility and then hurled a 2-foot metal vase at another resident.
Oh.
He meant business.
That could be a deadly weapon if you hit him in the head.
Oh, yeah. Well, but then again, you're old. Do you feel it? And two, if your brains are scrambled, well, we know it. Right.
And if you're old and you're throwing it, can you really throw it that hard?
That's right. See, it's not like you're Nolan Ryan throwing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
See. Miami police identified the man as Osvaldo Nieves, who they say became enraged when the facility ran out of soup during dinner at the facility, which is located on Northwest 43rd Place. In case you're going there for the soup, I hear it's wonderful this time of year. According to his arrest report, staff members told officers that Nieves began shouting, stood up from the table, and grabbed a decorative metal flower vase from a side table. Okay, I get that we have an older clientele. You probably don't have ceramic vases because they get spilled all the time and they'll probably break. So you have a metal vase so that, if it gets knocked over, it doesn't break, right?
I guess.
But why wouldn't you have plastic? Because it's probably going to get picked up and thrown.
You weren't banking on them throwing it.
See, I would go with the rough crowd and think someone's going to use this as a weapon. We should probably have it be rubber or plastic.
Yeah, you have to plan ahead.
Right.
How do you run out of soup, though? That's like so basic.
Yeah, but eventually, dining hours are over. You got to plan for the amount of people you got, right?
You just have a surplus of soup. I bet they will now.
By the way, that's a great album name, Surplus of Soup. I forget what the name of our band was, but again, Surplus of Soup is a great album name.
Yeah, we'll have to listen back. I forgot it too.
Yeah. It's just so many good names this episode. Okay. So according to the arrest report, staff members told officers that Nieves began shouting. He stood up from the table. He grabbed that decorative metal flower vase from a side table, and then he threw it on the ground twice.
Whoa, he threw it. He picked it up and he threw it again.
And he threw it on the ground. That's that Andy Samberg, SNL bit where he throws it on the ground.
Yeah.
When another male resident tried to step in to protect the two female employees, police say Nieves picked up the vase again, and then he threw it right at the resident twice, striking him once in the right side of the chest and again on his left leg.
Whoa.
You know what I think?
He's gonna have bruises.
Well, I think he doesn't know where the strike zone is what I think, because he's all over the place. I mean, he's not very accurate. The victim suffered a cut on his chest and a small puncture-type wound to his knee, so he had some velocity. Good for Nieves. I think, he might want to talk to a minor league team there in Miami about maybe finding a spot. According to the police, the victim led Nieves toward a rear patio to protect the staff, and when Nieves continued to approach him, the victim punched him in the face. Now we're getting into it. Yeah. Officers wrote that Nieves then returned to his bedroom and fell asleep because throwing a metal vase around is hard work. Employees at the assisted living facility told police that he frequently exhibits aggressive behavior. Yeah. Nieves, get mad, throw vase, go night-night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's a tough day, Jess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be like maybe he has dementia. They say, they get a little violent.
Yeah. Well, that's how Vern Gagne was, when he killed the guy in assisted living.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, he didn't know where he was. He wasn't in his right mind. He gave that guy a body slam and
Scary.
broke his hip and then killed him. He must have thought he was back at Met Center wrestling, wrestling Mad Dog Vachon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nieves was identified by the victim and witnesses and then transported to Jackson Memorial Hospital before being taken into custody. Authorities said no employees of the assisted living facility were hurt. Jail records show Nieves is facing 1 count of aggravated battery on a person 65 years or older. As of Friday afternoon, he was being held at the Turner Guilford Knight Correctional Center, where his bond was set at $7,500. Imagine he does have dementia, and all of a sudden he ends up at a correctional center, and he's not at the nursing home.
Yeah, he's going to be so confused.
And then he's like, "Where's my soup?" Right?
And it starts all over again.
It starts all over again. Exactly. By the way, here's the guy right here. And literally, he does look like the guy going, "Where's my soup?"
He does.
Yeah.
He doesn't look old enough to be in a nursing home.
He doesn't, does he?
Assisted living.
No. No. I don't know. No idea. We'll stay in Florida for this next one, which, by the way, this next story is going to get the yearly award for Holy Blank, guys. Could you send me the story any more this week?
Got this one a lot, huh?
Oh, my God. Like every day this past week, somebody sent me this story.
Oh, it must be a good one. I'm excited to hear it.
In fact, I'm going to post it in the description of this program so you guys can watch the video. You probably have already watched the video somewhere. I guarantee you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. The headline is Florida man falls through the ceiling into the arms of a SWAT team. This is the quintessential dumb crime, stupid criminal story. And I got it from every one of our audience members this week.
Every single person.
Yep. So thank you, every one of you who ever sent a story to us. You all sent me this story this week. I guarantee you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, so thank you, everybody. And I'm not saying this facetiously or to be a smart ass. I'm just saying thank you to everybody because you all covered the base this week. In fact, let me see if I can blow this up. This is, see if you can see this, Justin. Can you see this? You see this guy falling, falling through the ceiling? He literally falls right into the arms. The SWAT team is basically looking for this guy. He gets away from them. He's loading up a truck from Home Depot, and then he runs from cops and he goes into the ceiling of this place, and then he's hiding in what they think is the attic, but he doesn't sit on the beams of the ceiling. He sits on the sheetrock, and he falls through the sheetrock into the arms of the SWAT team.
That didn't go as he was planning.
No. So I've given you the basic plot, but we go to Sebastian, Florida, where a Florida man allegedly was running from law enforcement earlier this month, and he found himself falling through the ceiling of a home right into the waiting arms of a SWAT team, according to a local sheriff's department. According to the Indian River County Sheriff's Office, deputies received an alert from license plate readers about a stolen Ford F-350 in the area. The truck had been reported stolen in October. Investigators said they were able to identify the suspected driver as 37-year-old Keith Rogers after he bought lumber at a Home Depot using the truck. Deputies then located the truck parked in a driveway where Rogers allegedly unloaded wood from the truck bed before fleeing into the residence upon seeing law enforcement. The sheriff's office said Rogers barricaded himself in the house and refused to respond to verbal commands. Due to his extensive criminal history and previous statements that he would get into a shootout before going back to jail, SWAT and crisis negotiators were deployed at this point. So
scary.
Yeah, so he's a little violent, Jess. At least he's given that tendency, right? Or that indication that he wasn't going to go quietly. After a standoff that lasted several hours, Rogers fell through the ceiling into the arms of SWAT members, according to IRCSO. Video of the incident, which we'll have in this story that you can watch when you click on the link, actually shows that a SWAT member is holding the suspect's ankle after he began to drop from the ceiling. The suspect then falls to the ground and nearby SWAT members rush over to restrain him. It's unclear whether Rogers was injured or what caused him to fall from the ceiling, though the sheriff's office said he was believed to be hiding in the attic. According to authorities, Rogers was charged with grand theft auto and resisting an officer without evidence. And yes, it's quite funny.
I was going to say it's kind of ironic because he was going to go out guns a-blazing and instead he just like drops into their arms.
Yeah, like a baby. Literally like a baby. He's just, you can see his little baby legs that are dangling from the from the ceiling. And then the SWAT member actually walks over, grabs him by the ankles and yanks him down out of the ceiling. And like pulling a Thanksgiving turkey out of the ceiling.
Not what he had planned.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right. It's time now for Not Safe for Work. If you have, we already kind of stepped over the line once today with the parrots. Whoopsie. Maybe we shouldn't have, but we did. But if you still have kids in the room, you want to escort them out of the room, put on Bluey for them. Bluey's a great cartoon. And then put a little earmuffs on him. If your boss is in the room, put on Bluey for him. It's a great little cartoon. He probably won't understand it. It's your boss after all. But put on Bluey for him and then put little earmuffs on him. And then we'll get to the adult business in the room in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sometimes, an affair is an affair and it's a fun little thing, right? And sometimes, but you have to be careful who you have the affair with. Okay. And you have to be careful when you confront, because sometimes affairs fall apart, right?
Usually they do.
Yes, usually they do. And you have to be careful when and where you confront the person you had the affair with, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to be careful as to where you confront that person, like place of work or,
grocery store.
Right, Jess.
Church.
That's where we're going. We're going to church.
Did I nail it? I knew it.
You nailed it. It's like you're psychic. It's like you helped me plan these newscasts. Here we go. The headline is Broke My Heart. Arkansas woman drove hours to confront pastor she was having an affair with, then shot him dead in front of his wife.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, no. He didn't deserve that, but...
No. Sometimes we get a little whipped up in our passions, and sometimes we send them back to the Lord. You know what I mean,
confronting part I can get on board with. The shooting him dead part, not so much.
Yeah, that's a little much. An Arkansas woman says she snapped after the man she was having an affair with refused to come clean to his wife.
Oh, gosh.
So he's like, no, I don't know her, baby. And she goes, you know me, baby. Boom.
Wow. No.
Latasha Daniels, a mental health and anger management counselor, was indicted.
No.
Yes, she's an anger...
That is not her job.
That is her job. She's an anger management counselor, and she shot a man.
No.
Yes. She was indicted.
Make it up.
She was indicted in 2019 after fatally shooting 36-year-old Brodus Perry, the former head pastor of Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, according to the commercial appeal, authorities say Daniels drove hours from Little Rock, Arkansas to the couple's apartment in a Memphis suburb to confront Perry about ending the relationship with his wife. Okay, here's a picture of everybody involved right here. If you can see that.
Okay.
All right. We'll get to the story here. Police say she shot Perry multiple times while yelling, "You broke my heart." You shattered his with a bullet, but he broke yours. Then she turned the gun on Perry's wife, Tabitha.
No.
Who survived her injuries.
She shot her. Oh, she didn't do anything wrong.
Right. She didn't do a thing.
Oh, that's terrible.
Mm-hmm. Brodus was shot in the head and Tabitha was shot in her left shoulder. So she just went,
poor Tabitha.
Ooh.
She's just like living life, doing her stuff. Like,
yeah. She had no idea.
No, she had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, she thought her man was just, preaching God's word, living life clean, doing his thing, preaching the gospel to the sheep, right? And here comes
story.
Yeah. Daniels was charged with first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and employing a firearm while committing a dangerous felony. During her week-long trial, Daniels testified that she met Perry through ministry work at St. Mark's Baptist Church in Little Rock. She said that Perry had offered to counsel her while she confided in him about her marital issues. Yes, she was married too, and her husband's emotional neglect and distance. During their second counseling session, she said that their relationship became sexual. She knew Perry was married as well. So it's not like she was completely innocent in the whole deal. But she decided to end it. I mean, like, end it for everyone involved.
Except herself.
Except herself, right. She didn't take herself out in this whole deal. Daniels described the early days of their relationship as amazing. A time when Perry was extremely affectionate, bought her expensive gifts, took her on trips, and paid for her membership at a high-end cigar lounge that he frequented. Oh, she likes a good cigar. There's something to be said about that. Daniels said that during the affair, she and Perry always made sure to include a third person on public outings to make it look like they were conducting church business. However, as the affair continued, she said that Perry grew manipulative and controlling. Towards the end of the relationship, she said he allegedly made her say yes, sir, and no, sir, when talking to him. So you shot him over that?
I mean, just don't go out with him anymore.
Right. During their trips together, Daniels said Perry made her pay travel expenses, but he financed everything else. She claimed that Perry would not allow her to wear clothes in their hotel rooms and withdrew affection if she was clothed. She also testified that their primary mode of communication was through an app that the pastor urged her to download, which deletes messages immediately after they're sent. Perry also allegedly told Daniels that their relationship couldn't go to the next stage until she divorced her husband. She said that she divorced her husband of 8 years, but Perry stayed married to his wife. Daniels also said that Perry often brought up the concept of ethical non-monogamy, that's in quotes, and asked her to find another person that she and Perry could invite into their sexual relationship. Perry also allegedly claimed that his wife was aware of the non-monogamy concept and permitted him to have an open marriage. However, Daniels said that Perry's wife had no idea about their affair, which the pastor's wife also told police. Daniels also testified that Perry gave her very specific instructions not to call 911 in the event that something were to happen to him while they were together, but to contact another pastor that they knew.
Huh, that's a strange directive.
Yeah.
He doesn't sound like a guy worth killing over, though.
No. On one occasion in October of 2017, Perry allegedly told Daniels he planned to leave his wife after sending her to Florida. Daniels said she and Perry spent days together while his wife was away and even traveled overseas. When Perry was finally promoted as executive pastor of Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church in Tennessee, Daniels testified that he visited Arkansas from time to time to continue the affair. On March of 2019, Daniels said she attempted to kill herself in front of Perry after he grew cold towards her, but Perry talked her out of it. 1 month later, Perry allegedly texted Daniels to suggest that they end the affair. Daniels said she wanted to end her life after that. She typed a suicide note in her phone, grabbed a gun, and said she started driving to a local park where she said she planned to shoot herself. As she was on the interstate, she said she saw the Memphis exit and decided to drive to the city instead. She headed to the cigar lounge that Perry often visited and found Perry, who allegedly suggested they go to his apartment and admit their affair to his wife. Daniels said that Perry's wife was friendly and welcoming toward her during the visit, but Perry ultimately never fessed up. Daniels said that when the meeting went nowhere, Perry decided to end the visit. She said she didn't remember firing the gun and that she never planned to harm anyone. She reiterated that the only person she wanted to harm that day was herself. "I'm so very sorry," Daniel said on the stand. "I never wanted to hurt anybody." Perry's widow, Tabitha Archie, testified as a state witness and recounted what she witnessed during the shooting. When questioned by defense attorneys, Archie said that she was shot. Daniel said something to the effect of, "I didn't mean to." Archie said that when police arrived, Daniels pointed the gun at herself, and responding officers had talked her out of self-harm. The prosecution argued that Daniels' shooting was intentional in the same way that her choice to engage in an affair with Perry was intentional. Her defense attorneys asserted that the shooting was done in the heat of the moment. Prosecutors say Daniels spent roughly 3 hours driving to Memphis and 20 minutes speaking to Perry's wife before pulling out the gun. They argued that the shooting stemmed from Daniels' anger and heartbreak over the breakup with Perry, but Perry testified that she loved the pastor and wouldn't have intentionally harmed him or hurt him. When Daniels' defense attorneys questioned her about her mental state, she said that she was not her normal, hold on just 1 second, the story jumped here, that she was not her normal, I'll get back to it here. The prosecution argued that the shooting was intentional in the same way that her choice to engage in an affair with Perry was intentional. Her defense attorneys asserted that the shooting was done in the heat of the moment. Prosecutors say Daniels spent roughly, I said that already. When Daniels' defense attorneys questioned her about her mental state, she said that she was not her normal, healthy self and hadn't been in a good mental state the day of the shooting. After deliberating, the jury convicted Daniels of lesser charges, including second-degree murder and reckless endangerment. The conviction means Daniels, now 46, won't face a life sentence in prison. Second-degree murder carries 15 to 25 years. Reckless endangerment is a Class D. It carries 2 to 4 years, said ADA Kevin McAlpin. Daniels will be sentenced on December 17th. Interesting.
That's a wild one.
Yeah, interesting story. That's for sure. All right. If you thought that was wild, I have one more wild criminal case, and then we'll get to some interesting lighter stuff here. A police officer is accused of providing sperm to a minor that he met on a Just a Baby app, according to authorities.
Whoa, there's an app for that? You can just get on an app and request sperm?
I guess so, yeah.
Eeg.
You don't have to vet them out too much anymore. It's on an app. There's an app for that, Jess.
There's an app for everything, Tim.
There is an app for everything. We go to New Orleans, where a police officer in New Orleans is accused of providing a minor with his sperm in hopes of getting her pregnant. The man is 45 years old. His name is Clarence Lee Evans, and he was arrested November 12th on 2 felony counts of indecent behavior with juveniles and 1 felony count of contributing to the delinquency of juveniles. Evans allegedly met the girl on an app called Just a Baby. First of all, it's kind of a creepy name for an app. I'm not going to lie.
Super creepy.
Yeah. Which connects sperm donors, egg donors, and surrogates for the purpose of conceiving a child. During those meetings, Evans brought the minor to hotels where he provided her with his semen. That just sounds creepy.
Ew.
Which was...
Put it in a cup or what?
I'm about to tell you. Which was manually inserted into the juvenile for the purpose of conceiving a child.
With a turkey baster?
I'm thinking. At this stage of the investigation, authorities said it does not appear Evans and the minor engaged in sexual intercourse. So yes, it had to be the old turkey baster.
What is happening? I mean, I guess that's better.
I guess that's better. I can't believe it's not butter.
Yeah.
Yeah. The investigation remains ongoing, according to authorities. They spared us the actual insertion method, thank God.
That's wild, because it's what crime is that? I mean, obviously contributing to the delinquency of a minor, but it's almost rape, but not quite.
It's still fiddling and diddling with the minors.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yep, indeed. How's that for you?
Super ew.
Well, if you think that's you, Jess, here we go. You know, it's a little cold out there. It's November.
Yes.
Normally we get our lewd, nude, and crude stories in the summer because it's nice weather, right?
Yeah. But we got some naked jaybirds running around in the cold.
There you go. We got
Despite the shrinkage. That's very brave.
Well, there's a couple of guys who evidently love to play helicopter in the middle of winter. Just saying. A penis-swinging duo is branded a pair of idiots after a naked garden antic.
Penis-swinging duo.
That sounds like a circus act, doesn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. A duo seen swinging their naked genitals around in front of a young family have been branded a pair of idiots in court.
Yeah. That's a fair brand.
39-year-old Graham Elder and another man were spotted waving their penises around in circles. Yes, they were playing helicopter in a garden by neighbors with an infant child. This takes place in England. Red-faced Elder was fined £400 on Thursday, November 13th, after a sheriff accepted it as a prank gone wrong rather than a sexual act they were carrying out.
Oh, who were they playing the prank on? Each other?
I guess. Elder is from Crieff and admitted committing an act of public indecency in Abbott Crescent, Perth on September 21st by being naked and swinging his penis around with another man.
Is this like playing truth or dare or what?
Again, I think they're just jumping around playing helicopter with each other and they're trying to convince people that's not a sexual act, but a prank.
I don't know if I'm buying it.
I'm not. Fiscal Depute Michael Robertson told Perth Sheriff Court a witness was approaching her 1-year-old daughter when she saw the accused and another male jumping around on the steps, holding their respective penises and swinging them in a circular motion.
Well, I mean, good for them.
Just good for them.
I mean, way to be free.
Another witness observed this from their kitchen window. The mother returned to the property with her daughter and called the police to report the matter. I don't blame her.
I would too.
He said Elder was interviewed by police and told officers that it was a joke and he and his friend did not realize that they could be seen by other people. Well, guess what? You were, you did, and you were busted for it.
I mean, do they have like a huge privacy wall around their backyard? Like,
something tells me no.
You live in town. People can see you.
That's right. The accused also apologized and said they were told by neighbors that they were a pair of idiots. It was his partner's address. It was separated by a mesh fence, by the way. But there are restricted views between properties. Solicitor Lindsay Barber, defending, said, pair of idiots is perhaps an understatement. That has been accepted by him. He is 40 next year. He has 2 children. Well, that's not good.
Oh, how embarrassing.
Yeah. It is his position that his pal pulled Mr. Elder's trousers down for a laugh. It was not such a laugh in the cold light of day. It was a drunken moment of stupidity. He is mortified as well as he should be. It was extremely stupid and embarrassing and concerning for those around him. He apologizes again to the people who were distressed by this incident. Sheriff William Wood
Wow.
said, as you have identified, it seems from the outset just a bit of stupidity and you have caused some upset. Perhaps having an infant crawling around nearby is not the best look, but it is unlikely the child will have suffered any lasting harm. A warrant was issued for the arrest of a 38-year-old Montrose man. Sheriff Wood was the one who...
I mean, if you were writing like a Monty Python skit, that's the name he would use.
Sheriff Wood was the one who caught the 2 willies.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you can't make it up.
You really can't. You just can't. All right. Last story before our palate cleanser today, Jess. And our palate cleanser, boy, I've got some doozies for you. But they're interesting ones. They have to do with kind of crushing your youth a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're going to make me feel sad and old. Okay.
Not like that. Boy, I think you're going to love this story, though. As if have you enjoyed the story so far?
I've loved them all.
Okay. We're going to Montana. First of all, I got to ask you, on a long road trip, do you pull over frequently to have to use the facilities?
No, I really, really try to not.
Okay.
So I like dehydrate myself.
Okay. You don't do the adult diaper bit?
No adult diapers.
Okay.
I don't like gas station bathrooms, and I don't want to pee on the side of the road.
Okay. You've never done the Gatorade bottle by chance or anything like that? No?
That's harder for a girl, but my dad and my brother have on long road trips. I've witnessed. I mean, not like watching, but
yeah. No, I hear you. Well, one distracted driver was relieving himself as he got pulled over by a policeman. As in, he didn't want to stop either.
He was driving and doing it. Like, that would be hard.
Oh, yeah.
That's distracted driving right there.
A Montana man was using a Budweiser can as a urinal when he caused a crash.
Oh, bad choice.
Yeah, it is.
Gatorade bottle would have been better.
Yeah. A motorist told police that he was busy attempting to urinate into a Budweiser can when he accidentally plowed into another vehicle on a Montana roadway, according to court records. As detailed in the probable cause affidavit, 53-year-old James Howard was driving his Chevy Suburban on a Missoula roadway when he slammed into the rear of a Volkswagen carrying 2 passengers.
Oh, no.
It's just bad news all the way around.
Pee everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with this whole deal.
Well, the other thing is, Tim, okay, he's peeing in an empty can, right? Not a bottle. Bottles have nice, glass soft edges. Cans are like, something, if you feel like you would have it pretty close to be getting it into the container.
You might cut the head.
Yeah. I mean, get a little cut on there.
Yeah.
Yay.
A highway patrol officer who arrived at the crash scene Thursday evening reported seeing Howard with a large Budweiser beer can in his right hand, which he moved into the center console. Howard, cops say, handed over the beer can when asked and said it contained urine and not beer. He further explained that he rear-ended the vehicle because he was attempting to urinate into the beer can while driving. The Volkswagen driver told cops he was at a stoplight after exiting Interstate 90 when he saw lights approaching in his rearview mirror and told his girlfriend to brace for impact. Brace for impact, honey! I gotta finish pissing! Howard, who claimed to have only consumed 1 beer, I'm guessing it was the one he peed back into. Yep. Reportedly smelled of alcohol. His speech was slow and slurred, and his pants were wet with urine. So he didn't hit that much of the can.
So he might as well just peed his pants and carried on with his drive home.
Yep. Howard stated that he had more than a couple of DUIs and was not supposed to be driving.
Shocking.
Yeah. I'm going to jail for a fucking long time, Howard told the cops.
Yes, sir, you are.
A police check of Howard's driving history showed that his license had been suspended earlier in the month and that he had 4 prior impaired driving convictions. A post-crash intoxilizer test, that's what they call those, registered his blood alcohol concentration at more than 3 times the legal limit.
Wow.
That wasn't the only bud he had that night.
No, not even close.
Howard was arrested for aggravated DUI, a felony, and reckless driving, and driving with a suspended license, both misdemeanors. He's being held in county jail in lieu of $10,000 bond. All because he had to piss in a can while driving.
And you think this is going to change his ways when he gets back out there? Probably not.
Probably not. But how would you like to be the proud girlfriend who was there watching him piss into a can while he crashed the car?
Was it the girlfriend in his car or the car that was getting hit?
No, the girlfriend
bracing for impact. Oh.
Girlfriend was in his car.
That's weird.
And why wouldn't she have just taken the keys from him?
Yeah, for sure. That would have been a better. There were a lot of poor choices made.
Yeah. Yeah,
during this story, Tim.
Yeah. I mean, he should have just given her the keys and said, "You know what, hon? I don't think
just
maybe
call an Uber. There's literally no excuse to drink and drive anymore."
Yeah.
I mean, not that there ever was, but you literally have no excuse.
Yeah.
Just call an Uber.
Yeah. All right, Jess, we have a multifaceted palate cleanser today. Mm-hmm. It's a loss of innocence. It's a death of our childhood type of palate cleanser, but I think you'll enjoy it today. First,
that's a little sad.
Well, a little bit, but we're going to build.
Death of my childhood.
We're going to crescendo here. We're going to. At first, it might start out a little sad, but it's going to get happier.
Okay.
At first, we have allies in need, as Japan has gone to war with the monkeys.
No.
Yeah.
The monkeys.
Yeah, we need to help the monkeys.
I was going to say, I don't know who I'm rooting for. I think I have to root for the monkeys.
Yeah, we got to root for the monkeys. In Japan's northern Alps, residents are battling monkeys to protect their homes and farms.
Oh no, are the monkeys being so naughty?
They are. We got naughty monkeys in Japan. We go to Azumino, Japan, where in the foothills of Japan's northern Alps, people are chasing monkeys. Wearing bright orange vests, the humans are ringing bells, blowing whistles, striking rocks and trees with walking sticks as they weave through bamboo and brush. Using GPS trackers, they follow the monkeys' movements and radio teammates to close in when nearby. The aim is to herd the animals back into the mountains and away from farms and homes. About 90 kilometers or 55 miles to the south, I believe it is Jiko Kundani Monkey Park, attracts more than 200,000 visitors a year, half of them from overseas, who come to see the same species soak in the hot springs. Oh, they soak in hot springs. They kind of...
Oh, they got to be so adorable.
I know. Beloved by tourists, Japanese macaques are hated by many locals. The monetary damage they cause is relatively minor compared to the losses from boar, deer, and crows, but monkeys are increasingly a bother for people on farms and in neighborhoods near the mountains, breaking into homes, stealing food, and ruining crops.
Oh, where they break into your house?
Yeah, have you ever seen the footage of it?
No, I want to. That sounds so cute.
It's the funniest thing ever. They break into... I saw some footage like probably a couple months ago of these monkeys who break into your home and they just go into your refrigerator and they start eating food.
So smart.
Yeah, I know. They're very intelligent. In 2022, Japan's agriculture ministry reported total crop damage from wild animals, including monkeys, at 15.6 billion yen, or $100 million, with deer, wild boar, and macaques causing 70% of that damage. Even the monkey chasing squad, about 50 paid part-time civil servants who try to control the monkeys, try to keep that damage down. Before 2023, nearly all the monkeys in Ariake, which is a district of Azumino City, lived within the town, with only 1% in the mountains, says Masaya Mayaki, who moved to Azumino 5 years ago and now leads that squad. According to the city, the macaques spend about half their time in the hills and the remainder in the villages. And improvement, both Miyake and the city attribute to the group's efforts. We're just returning them to where they're supposed to be, said Miyake. Naturally, the food in the village is more nutritious and tastier. They're not simply being mischievous. They're just coming down to eat. Well, then give them something to eat.
Yeah. Can you imagine? That'd be like my dream come true if I had little monkeys coming to my house to eat.
Yeah. I'd feed them. I'd put out a little 100%. Something for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I feed the chippers, I give them a little something to eat. Those are my buddies. We have an understanding. They don't come rushing into my house to get stuff to eat.
They don't have to.
They don't have to. I put stuff out for them.
You'd have the food out for them like a little buffet on your front porch.
Yeah, and then they come and get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we do for the monkeys. We should go to Japan.
That's right. We have a plan for Japanese macaque monkeys. And they won't come into your house. See?
I do appreciate that they're not like shooting them though. They're just trying to like shoo them away with like noises and
Right.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's nice. So they have a problem with boars and macaque monkeys in Japan. But that's one part. There's a war of the monkeys in Japan.
I want to see the monkeys and the boars team up, like the monkeys riding the boars.
Or they're riding the deer. Can you imagine monkeys riding the deer going to get the food?
Yes.
Yeah. That'd be or riding the boars. There's
both. They could ride both.
Yeah. They've formed a little consortium, little animal consortium, little animal mafia to get their food.
I like it.
It's a Disney movie waiting to happen. I think.
Did you ever see that movie Furry Vengeance? Brendan Fraser?
No.
Oh, it's so good.
Is it?
That's one of our family favorites. You should seriously watch it. You would really love it. Brooke Shields is in it. It's just so cute.
Yeah.
The animals take revenge, and it's adorable.
I'll have to watch it. I definitely have to watch it. Okay. Second story. I don't know what's gotten into this guy, but he's a future Darwin Award winner. Again, the end of the innocence.
Okay.
You cannot, folks, swallow an entire burger without chewing it.
No.
This man found out the hard way.
Oh, no. Did he survive?
Barely. 22-year-old man is fighting for his life after swallowing an entire burger without chewing it for a joke.
Oh, on purpose. He wasn't even like just breathed in too fast or laughed or something. And wow.
He did it on a dare.
How dumb.
22-year-old is fighting for his life in a hospital after he swallowed an entire burger for a joke on Thursday. The man, who has not been named, is reportedly on a ventilator after the alleged prank during a meal with friends, having caused significant damage to his vital organs.
Oh, no.
He can't do that. He was taken to the intensive care unit of the G. Genimatis Hospital in the town of Karapi, Greece, on November 13th and is in critical condition. A friend who was with him at the time said the man began panicking after swallowing the burger before collapsing on the ground. They told local media he had something like a panic attack. He gets up and runs a bit further away. We thought he was going to spit it out and didn't want to make a mess around others. He didn't do that. He makes a move to come back and then goes away again to spit it out. And we thought, okay, now it's coming. That didn't happen either. The friend added, then he starts coming back again. And then the moment we realized something was wrong was when he was hitting his back against a column, probably trying to spit it out or something. He also denied that the man had stuffed the burger in his mouth for a challenge. He just said, look, if you want to call it something, call it a joke, is what the man said.
So they just watched him run around and nobody did the Heimlich on him?
No.
Oh my gosh.
The man is believed to have stopped breathing for a full 2 minutes.
Oh, I'd be so mad if that was my son. I'd be so mad at my son. I'd be like, you are so stupid.
Yeah. Michalis Giannakis, president of the, I believe this is Paul Hellenic Federation of Public Hospital Workers, said he can only be saved by a miracle. He is in a very critical condition.
Oh, that's so sad.
So this man
really bums me out.
Yeah, this man probably is going to die from this. Giannakos also questioned how a person could swallow a whole burger without chewing. It's almost damn near.
No way.
It's almost damn near impossible.
Yeah.
He said if he received first aid, a doctor's intervention is needed because when the brain is left without oxygen, irreparable damage is caused. Local police spokesperson Constantina, I believe this is Dimigliodu, something like that, said authorities would seek footage from the restaurant to determine whether anyone had encouraged him to attempt the alleged prank. Former president of the Athens Piraeus Hospital Doctors Association, Martina Pagoni, said these are tragic circumstances. She also said a 22-year-old young man who went to Karapi just to have some fun, is now intubated and is in extremely critical condition with some very serious problems affecting his brains, kidneys, and all his organs. So, yeah, folks, don't stick an entire burger in your mouth and try and swallow it without chewing. That's
no. And if anyone does, Heimlich them immediately.
Yeah. Or stick your hand on their throat and pull it out.
Right? It couldn't be that far down.
No. Or take an instrument of some sort and try to dig it out, dig pieces of it out.
I don't think my throat has the capacity to like have a whole burger go down it.
Yeah. It's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to do. Hard to do. All right. Here's your true end of the innocence right here, Jess. I have to ask you a question. In 1985, there was a film. There's a film that hit the silver screen, and I have to ask you this question: where were you when "Follow That Bird" came out to silver screens?
Follow That Bird?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever heard of that one.
Do you remember that movie? It was a Sesame Street movie. Do you remember the movie where Big Bird hits the road? He decides he's going to take his suitcase and...
I don't know if I ever saw it. I was a Sesame Street watcher, but like on public television. Was that... I feel like it probably wasn't played on public television.
You don't remember the movie when it came out where he decides to... I think if I remember the plot, he ran away from home.
Yeah.
And he took a suitcase and he went off and ran away from home.
I don't remember it. Did you see it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw it. Yeah. I've always been a big Muppets fan. So.
Oh, was it in theaters?
Yes.
Like maybe that's why I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was in theaters. Yeah.
That costs extra money, Tim.
That cost extra money. They didn't play that movie in Iowa? Was that the deal?
I mean, we wouldn't have probably gone because we couldn't probably have afforded it.
Oh, no. I would have took you to it.
I know. Well, we'll have to go to it if it ever comes back out again.
If they do this would be the 40th anniversary. So maybe they're playing it somewhere. Maybe, you know what? We'll go see if it's at the Heights Theater. I'm sure they'll play it there.
We should request it.
You know what we'll do? Here's what we'll do. Because they just opened up the new Krispy Kreme in Fridley. We'll go get a dozen donuts from Krispy Kreme. We'll go see Follow That Bird at the Heights Theater.
Perfect. Yeah.
I'm in. There you go. We'll totally junk out and go watch Sesame Street films. But here's the big story, Jess. And here's what this will be the end of the innocence right here. You know country star Waylon Jennings, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Waylon Jennings was in the movie. The idea is that Big Bird, he runs away from home. And when Big Bird runs away from home, he has all these adventures and he meets all these people. Kind of like, remember like Pee-wee's Big Adventure when Pee-wee...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when he ran away from home, he ran into all these celebrities.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Okay, so this is kind of like that.
Okay,
so Pee-wee runs into all these celebrities. Big Bird ran into all these celebrities. When Big Bird was, out on the road. Well, there's a scene where Waylon Jennings is driving along in his truck and he picks up Big Bird. Big Bird's hitchhiking back when hitchhiking was safe. Wink, wink. So
before all the serial killers ruined it for everyone.
Yeah. Which, in the 80s, there were serial killers. So why Big Bird was hitchhiking and showing kids it was safe, I have no idea. It was a bad choice.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Right. So Waylon Jennings picks up Big Bird in his truck. Right? Well, here's the backstory to that. The real life story on the set. Waylon Jennings once accidentally lit Big Bird on fire while filming the 1985 Sesame Street film Follow That Bird.
What? With like a cigarette or what?
We're about to find out. This
He's hitchhiking, he might as well be smoking.
That's right. This is classic Waylon, folks. The country icon has so many iconic songs and stories to his name, and we recently got to hear some brand new Waylon music on the album Songbird, which is a track list full of archival songs that his son, Shooter Jennings, recently discovered, which were all recorded in the prime of Waylon's career. Now, it's the first of a 3-part project, and of course, Shooter Jennings, Waylon's son with Jesse Coulter, produced it at Sunset Sound Studio 3, renamed by Jennings as Snake Mountain, where he produced all of his music that he's currently working on. The album actually returned to the Billboard charts as Waylon notched his first top 10 on Billboard's top album sales chart with Songbird, which came in at number 6 on top album sales charts, while also entering the top 10 on 4 more charts upon the album's release. Now, Shooter's been doing a ton of press to promote the incredible record, and this week, former members of his band and people he worked with over the years stopped by for a fascinating conversation on the Drifting Cowboy podcast, where he revealed tons of amazing stories and tales about the life of Waylon. One of them just so happened to be about how Waylon caught Big Bird on fire.
Oh my goodness. I'm excited to hear this.
Now, he appeared in the 1985 film Sesame Street Presents Follow That Bird, where he played a turkey farmer who gives Big Bird a ride in his truck and sings a duet with him called Ain't No Road Too Long.
Oh, that sounds sweet.
Yeah, sweet little number, right? But the filming of this scene didn't go off exactly without a hitch, as Jerry Bridges, who was Waylon's bassist for 23 years, described in the podcast. Waylon was still smoking at that time, so you guessed that part right, Jess. And he was smoking in the truck next to Big Bird. And he accidentally flicked a few ashes onto Big Bird's costume, which started smoking shortly thereafter.
Oh, no.
Waylon caught Big Bird on fire. Here's the quote from the bassist. We were in Canada, and Waylon was in that pickup thing with Big Bird, and that's when Waylon was still smoking, and he's smoking and talking to me and all that. And he does one of these things, flipping the ashes. And I'm standing outside the truck looking in, and I said, I'm not sure, but Big Bird's smoking right now. Somebody needs to do something about this guy. So we put him out, and things are all good. He started Big Bird on fire. Luckily, it wasn't
just ash on Big Bird.
Yeah, you're just like, putting it out on Big Bird, just,
That's wild.
Luckily, it wasn't any worse than that. I mean, imagine Waylon having to go home and tell Shooter, who was about 6 years old at the time, that he set Big Bird on fire. And not a great scenario.
Dad killed Big Bird.
Yeah, Dad set Big Bird on fire like Michael Jackson. It's kind of that same pantheon. But,
yeah.
But
kind of around that same time, right? I mean, maybe that was in the later.
Well, that was 80. That was 84, because that was right before the Jackson's Victory Tour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it would have been Michael that went up first. Big Bird went up second. So, yeah. We had a slew of celebrities that spontaneously combusted in the 80s. It was kind of
Michael was the OG, though.
Yeah, Michael was the OG. Yeah. So, yeah. Interesting little that's how we end our program today, with spontaneous combustions. Yeah.
I like it. That's cute.
There you go. So that's how we end the program today. So what's new in your world, Jess?
Well, we do have an event coming up, and we have investigation-only tickets at a hotel in Stillwater, the Water Street Inn, December 6th, I want to say, that first Saturday in December. So if anybody's interested in those, you're more than welcome to join us for the investigation.
All right.
Limited number of tickets, but...
Is there a link on the website?
There is a link on my website. So you'll see the link for the full retreat, which is one price. But if you're just interested in doing the investigation, we opened it up for a handful of tickets for people who want to come. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I could give you a discount code. I can't think of what it is off the top of my head, but why don't I give it to you? You can put it in maybe in the show notes.
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. All right. There's that. And then you have a New Year's event coming up as well, right?
Yeah, the Palmer House. We do it every year. This is our third year at the Palmer House to celebrate not New Year's Eve, but the first weekend usually after. And I think that one's maybe on the 9th. We schedule it when my kids are home for Christmas break because they love to go so much. So yeah, January 9th through the 11th, we have a Palmer House event, and that'll be like all the stuff, the writing, the art and everything. I brought it down a little bit. I made it a little bit more condensed because I feel like life is expensive right now, or the world is financially a little strained. So it's a little cheaper than our tickets normally are. So I just I kind of finagled it a bit so I could make it a little bit more affordable. So,
well, there you go. Well,
yeah, and tickets are on my website for that too.
All right, great. So we'll put there's links up to Jess's website in the description of this program, and we'll have that discount code for you too as well for the December event here. So check that out, folks. And again, we want to see you up at the Palmer, of course, in January, folks.
Yes.
Yeah. So
you're coming in January too, right?
Yeah. I'll be there. Yeah. I'll be there in January.
My favorite. You can come ghost hunt with Tim and I.
Yeah, come hang out with us in January. Have a good time with us. So that'll be in the description of this program. So come to both events, folks. Have a good time. Jess always throws a good party. So come.
We have fun. I actually in that one, I think I'm bringing karaoke. We're gonna be
what?
We're gonna be singing and having a good old time.
There you go. All right. Tomorrow on the program, Supernatural News, Mally Fox. Thursday, we are talking. I'll give you this much of a hint. There's a new movie available on Amazon Prime that deals with psychic phenomena. Mm-hmm. Not just psychic phenomena in remote viewing, but also having to do with contact with aliens.
That sounds fascinating.
Yeah. So we're gonna go down that road with our guests on Thursday.
Another good one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good week, fun week this week. So yeah, so that'll do it for this week, folks. I want to thank you so much again. Check out Jess's website for those events. Update your Darkness Radio Apple apps. Check out the store, darknessradioshow.com. And be right back here tomorrow for Supernatural News. And thank you so much for continuing to watch and listen. Darkness Radio, check out the original Darkness Radio on YouTube. Like and subscribe once you've seen the video. And give us a good review if you like the show. And recommend us to your friends, neighbors, and loved ones. And we'll see you right back here for Supernatural News tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching and listening. The best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday.